Приветствую всех гостей
Hello,
сегодняшней встречи.
everyone, dear participants of this meeting. A very significant, very important meeting for all investors into the string transportation technology and for all investors and clients of RSW Systems platform. Dear friends, this meeting has already started on the 21st of June. By the way, the longest and the sunniest day in the year is of great significance to all of the guests and participants of today's meeting, because we can call this meeting as the meeting of the year 2025, because this event is very exclusive, and what we're going to talk about today and the words to be said by our today's guests will be very exclusive and very important information about the string transportation. They will talk about the implementation of the commercial projects in the pipeline of UST, and most importantly, today we are going to listen to the creator of the string transportation technology, engineer of the world, Dr. Unitsky. I'm very glad that at today's meeting we have guests from dozens and dozens countries of the world, and today's full attendance, literally full house, is a good proof of that. We have literally no spots left, but I would like still to reassure other people who wanted to be here today but couldn't, will be able to watch the recording of this meeting, which will be published on all our official video hosting services such as YouTube and Vimeo, and it will be available in 7 languages. Before we start our today's meeting, I would like to outline the format of today's meeting. Our meeting is going to consist of 2 parts. First part will be dedicated to the development of the UST technology across the world. It is present in all the continents. We will learn the information about how UST is promoted and is progressing in the US. It's a new continent for the group of companies of Dr. Unitsky. Also, we will learn from the Deputy General Director of UST Inc., Mr. Petrov, about the projects, commercial projects the company is working on in the Eastern Europe, CIS countries, far and close overseas countries. And also it will be important for us to listen to the uScovery Executive Director, Mr. Zaretsky, who is going to provide us with very exclusive information about the new projects in the pipeline currently handled by the group of companies. This will be the first part of our today's meeting, and afterwards we will do the summary and the recapping. I, as the head of the RSW Systems, will make a summary of the activities of the platform for 2025, and I will provide my vision of how we're going to move forward and what kind of advantages are out there in supporting, through crowd investing, the UST technology. And also, dear friends, in the second part, we will have an exclusive presentation of one of the most innovative, cutting-edge, and versatile methods or tools of promotion of the technology UST, which is, dear friends, is a tool that will allow each and one of you and all the future investors into the technology to promote this technology across the entire world. So, dear friends, get ready for very productive 2 hours through which our meeting will last. I would like to wish you lots of attention, good mood, and I'm sure that the news we're going to hear about today will drive you forward for the next at least 6 months, of the year 2025. So we can finally start our today's meeting, and I would like to start with one of the most important areas in the development of the string transportation technologies, one of the biggest and large-scale projects that our unique and genius creator started. And this project, this area, is about creating a hub in the United States, a hub which is based on the high-speed transportation system. And you must have read in the previous news, recent news from the last year, you probably know that a decision was made to develop this particular area in the United States. But before I give the floor to Dr. Unitsky, I would like to show to you a video where we will see at what stage the company is at right now, how far the company has progressed, because after all, we're talking about the biggest project so far, which we've been looking forward to and which was initiated by Dr. Unitsky. So, dear friends, all eyes on the screen, and together we will watch exclusive shots, a video about the current state of affairs, and after that we will give the floor to Dr. Unitsky, and then we will have a talk in the format of questions and answers. And we will get some exclusive information firsthand from Dr. Unitsky himself. So, dear friends, all eyes on the screen. The UST technology is already attracting attention from both private investors and government institutions, opening up new opportunities for collaboration and development on this continent. Last year, we began active work on implementing UST technology in the US. A special group of companies was established for this purpose, along with the opening of a marketing office. SkyTech. Global forecasts for passenger transportation alone predict an increase of 360% by 2050, compared to 2015, reaching 120 trillion passenger kilometers per year. We plan to fill a significant niche in this emerging global demand with our transport solutions, including our high-speed complexes. And here we have every chance of success. The United States of America has always been a favorable country for the development of innovation. Engineers and inventors, regardless of their nationality, have introduced their technologies to the world from here for more than a century. Igor Sikorsky's airplanes, Nikola Tesla's inventions, Henry Ford's automobiles, and William Boeing's aircraft. All of them began their journey in the US. America was one of the first countries to recognize the strategic importance of railroads. While other countries, nations hesitated or delayed implementation, the US built 118,000 kilometers of railways in just 10 years, from 1880 to 1890. That's nearly 12,000 kilometers per year. They also recognized the potential of highways in time by launching mass production of automobiles in the 20th century. They built over 6 million kilometers of roads. Of course, none of this would have been possible without Henry Ford, whose ideas could only be realized in an environment that was socially favorable to innovation. Or take our time. Tesla's electric cars by Elon Musk, Steve Jobs' innovative technologies, Bill Gates' Microsoft hardware, artificial intelligence. All of this developed here in the United States, where innovative projects are supported by legislation and vast national resources for funding and implementation. These technologies began in the US and then spread throughout the world. After analyzing these factors and existing prospects, we made the decision to develop high-speed technology in this region. According to our estimates, showcasing and certifying high-speed string transport in the US will not only contribute to the country's development, but will also have a significant impact on the global transportation industry. It will increase the environmental sustainability of the entire sector. Another very important factor, the technologies I've developed are not intended to benefit a single country or organization. They are needed by the entire world to preserve our common home, planet Earth, for future generations. A place where technology can exist in harmony with humans and nature. This is the core philosophy, the belief that engineering technologies, especially in transportation, must be aimed at the global transformation of our technographic civilization. And it is what has motivated me to work hard for the past 50 years. And it is no coincidence that I'm known publicly as the engineer of the world. I'm an engineer who, above all, thinks about the well-being of the planet Earth and humanity as a whole. I am an engineer who offers harmless technologies to the world, not for the sake of money and profit, though of course those are present too, but for the health, well-being and prosperity of every person, regardless of their country of residence or skin color. But in order to reach the whole world, we must start with individual countries, those who were the first to recognize the promise of our safe, clean technologies and created favorable conditions for their development. Successful launches of our projects in these areas will help convince other countries of the high environmental standards, technological effectiveness, efficiency, and safety of the innovative UST transport and infrastructure technology. The high-speed initiative of UST will lead us to inevitable, undeniable success. Right now, our American partners are searching for land for the hub. Signing an agreement to allocate a plot for construction will be the first step in our work in this country.
Dear
colleagues and partners, I'm sure that what we've seen just now is very inspiring, very impressive, and showcases that Dr. Unitsky's words never part with reality. And very little time has passed, and we have already seen what kind of results the company has achieved. But what kind of specific results have been achieved in practice will be covered by Dr. Unitsky himself in an exclusive interview with us, and he will share the results of his recent trip to the United States. Dr. Unitsky, it is a great honor for me to pass the floor to you, and I would like you to give us the information that we've been looking forward for so long a time. Dear friends, I'm very glad to be welcoming you at our online meeting, and you are right now on different continents, different countries. We are speaking different languages. We probably have different skin color, but we're all together. And this is yet another proof that regardless of the boundaries, the future is created there where we have a single vision and single objective. You have seen the video right now, and in that video, you've heard that our partners in the United States are on the lookout for the land. But that video was made before my trip to the US. I was there for 2.5 weeks, early June, and I wanted to tell you a story that happened in the United States. And it is a very good story. It's a good example of how great this technology looks like to people who know nothing about it. And here's the story. It's been a year. We've been looking for an appropriate land plot in the US to start building testing tracks for testing and certifying high-speed transportation, where there is one requirement that has to be met. We're talking about the length of the track should be at least 25 kilometers, because you need to speed up for 10 kilometers, then go for 5 kilometers, and then slow down for 10 kilometers. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find anything like that in Belarus, Russia, or the United Arab Emirates. So I made up my mind. Probably we should look for a land plot in the country where innovations are in great demand, where there is a centuries-long culture of investing into venture innovative projects. The United States, of course. And we consider different options. Which state? On which territory? Should it be because they have like deserts, mountains, valleys, and plains? So we decided that it should be more or less a plain area with no major obstacles like mountains and hills that we need to level, big rivers to cross, so it wouldn't be too expensive for us. And then we looked into different options in different states. We had a lot of people who joined in our efforts in the United States, but we couldn't find an appropriate land plot. And in parallel with that, and you know that I have another technology in the development, which is bringing production into the outer space without a rocket. And in that invention, we have part of it is a linear city that would go around the equator in space. And in order to move the harmful production into outer space, I'm talking about like harmful factories and plants, we need to be able to deliver cargo and humans into the outer space and then bring them back, of course, and they should be able to commute. And we were thinking about how to build this track from equator to the outer space and other hubs. So we arrived to the US and we modeled the situation, how different strings would be built in the US, and we came to Colorado eventually. And we realized there was a lot of free land there for sale, for rent, for lease. We found good plots without mountains and big rivers. So we decided to look for a land plot there. Perfect terrain for us. And in the state of Colorado, there is a railway testing center where rolling stocks are tested. They have a huge piece of land, 10 by 10 kilometers. It's around, 100 square kilometers. So we reached out to them. They showed interest. They said, yes, your project is really interesting, and we need high-speed tracks, high-speed lines. So in the US, so come to us. We will give you land, we will give you electric power, we will give you water, everything you need, motor roads. So I was very happy about it, and I was going to the United States fully realizing that, yes, finally we found land. And nowadays, we have an office in Atlanta. So we drove from Atlanta to Colorado, which is about 2,000 kilometers, We also took samples of the land, of the soil, for our database or soil base, if you will. We went there and we asked for an appointment with the stakeholders, people who are interested in us building a hub there, and said, yes, no problem. But you know, our territory is reserved area, so we need to get a permission for you to enter that place. So you'll have to wait. And then we waited for a week, and then eventually we were prohibited to enter by the local authorities. So you see, we went to the US, we were already ready to move the headquarters from Atlanta to Colorado, so a problem appeared out of nowhere. Seemingly insolvable problem, but I'm never afraid of problems. So I told my American partners and told them, let's find a privately owned land. And I told them, let's see who owns big land plots. And we eventually found a farmer, one of the biggest landowners in Colorado. And I said, let's have a meeting with him. There was just one single meeting because I had to fly back. So we went to his office, and as a person who knew nothing about the technology, was quite indifferent, and he asked us to tell them about it. And our American partners started giving the outline of what we need: land, the parameters, and he was kind of, doing his own things. He wasn't even listening. And I was there, and I decided to interject. And I said, you know that there are 60 million kilometers of roads built that kill 1.5 million people and billions of animals. And millions of people become disabled because of traffic accidents. And then our American partners continued outlining the land requirements, etc. And I interjected again. I said, you know how much fuel cars burn? How many millions of tons per year? And 6 billion tons of oxygen from the atmosphere, exhausting into atmosphere, soil, and water around 10 billion tons of cancerogens. And I interjected my American partner interrupted my American partner all the time because he was simply talking like dry math and strictly business. And I realized that's not the way to achieve our goal. I wanted to convey to our American land owner, this big farmer, the message about the preservation, the need for preservation of nature, about the fact that currently Earth is paved with the same area that is equal to 5 or 6 Great Britons. Basically, it's soil covered with asphalt, with no opportunity for plants to grow, and with no possibility for plants to produce oxygen. And I told him, we're going to restore that land. We will give that land back to humans. Our transportation is electrically driven, which is better than any electric cars because we have steel wheels and not rubber wheels. I showed him my monographs as the engineer of the world. I showed him that Hyperloop, the idea of Hyperloop, first came to me and not Elon Musk. And he was kind of surprised that it is my technology, my concept. And in the monograph, there was a drawing made 50 years ago in watercolors. There were no computer graphics back then, so my drawings and pictures were drawn in watercolors, in pencils and colors. So it was a Hyperloop model across the ocean to New York, with a model of a vacuum tunnel where you can get from London to New York in 7 or 6 hours, faster than by plane. And after I showed it, and the album, the books, the monographs explained everything, that farmer's attitude drastically changed. He came out of behind the table, he signed my book, I signed his book. We're talking about a cowboy farmer, in the 10th generation, 10 generations of farmers. He was at the beginning of the creation of this state, their family. It's a very famous person. We took a memorable picture together, and he said, "I'm going to make you a good proposal." And this was just one meeting. And then he came up with his proposal, and he said, "I'm going to allocate 2 land plots to you. One will be 200 hectares approximately, and another one also 200 hectares. And it will be close to that railway hub. And we would be able to build our high-speed track on that stretch of land, which would be long, up to 34 kilometers long, which will allow us to develop even 600 kilometers per hour. And at the same time, when this meeting was going on, I told him, if you can sell that land. You can become an investor and invest in kind in land, which will be more even attractive, because knowing your culture of investing in the United States, there are a lot of good examples where people invested in startups that skyrocketed and then created biggest businesses of all times that you can make a lot of money out of it. So it's better probably not to sell the land, but lease it out, rent it out in exchange for in-kind contribution like shares. So we issued shares, not pre-IPO shares, at shares, 400,000 shares at $500 per share. So the farmer rented out land to us, a lease for 50 years, around 600 hectares of land, in exchange for 1,000 shares. So, and it was proof for me that when you talk to a person and try to explain to them how string transportation is better than anything else, they become our follower, our supporter from the first meeting. And the advantages here are colossal, huge. It is the most environmentally safe and friendly transportation. It's not because it's electric energy, because electric energy is also dirty energy, because electricity is generated at electrical power station where fuel is burned. But at the point of consumption of electricity, of course, it's clean. But in our case, environmental friendliness is achieved due and thanks to other factors. For example, we don't have any gravel cushions like railway roads have. And those gravel mounds for railway serve like a dam, which is not good. And I remember that there were plans for building a high-speed track between St. Petersburg and Moscow, and the environmentalists calculated that the damage would be even worse than the damage from Chernobyl, because the soils were soft and weak there on that stretch, whereas high-speed transportation requires perfect straight line. If you look at the wheels of a train, usually I do, you'll see how rails literally jump under the train. 10 millimeters interval. It's literally going up and down. On the high-speed transportation, that would be disastrous. There shouldn't be a interval of more than 1 millimeter, which means the ground underneath should be hard. So if you want to build a cushion for the high-speed railway, you need to remove soft ground and bring in hard ground, hard dirt, from far off, usually from some kind of a quarry, rock quarry. And then you need to tramp it down in order to then put the rails on top of it. And basically what you're doing is you're building a low-pressure dam, which blocks rivers, it blocks the movement of underground water, surface waters, and especially at sloped areas, what you get is the water is flowing and then is blocked by the mound, by the railway cushion. And then you see on one side lots of water, like marshes, and on the other side it's desert and it's dry forest. It's because water was blocked by the railway, by this artificial dam. And in our case, there is no such dam. There are no such dams. We have supports. We have overpasses at the second level. And also, it's not only about exhaust or fuel consumption. Just take a look how many resources are spent on building railways and motor roads. Around 10,000 tons of asphalt is used for 1 kilometer. And for that, you need to produce oil, then you create bitumen out of that oil, then you mine rock, then you create gravel out of that rock, then you bring sand from quarries, and then you take that sand from, also produce that sand at special plants and factories. It requires a lot of resources. And imagine the sheer number of quarries out there for the production of rock and gravel and sand, and a whole number of associated environmental problems. And in our case, the impact is dozens of times lower. And as an example, I also would like to tell you the evaluation of the intellectual property that is being updated right now and that I contributed to GTI. The intellectual property evaluation is here. Some people that evaluation is just a number. No, it's very serious research. You see the screenshot right now. Yes, Dr. Unitsky, I would like to point out to our colleagues here for them to see on their screen the evaluation of the intellectual property that was contributed to the GTI, Global Transport Investment. So, dear colleagues, you have it on your screen. Yes, it's $400 billion, 867 million US dollars. So some people might think that it's just a number taken out of nowhere. It's a lot of research. And it wasn't done by me. It was done by an independent company that has a license, international license, to conduct intellectual property evaluation. We're talking about an exclusive right to know-how that I owned. And then, of course, I handed that right over to GTI. Dr. Unitsky, allow me to make a small interjection here. I wanted to describe the process that is being conducted or implemented right now in the United States before we move on to the intellectual property. I would like, dear colleagues, to summarize what has been said so far. So A, we know that a year ago this process was launched, and Dr. Unitsky has worked very hard with his team in the United States, and as a result, thanks to the personal sale of the idea, of the concept, of the operations conducted by Dr. Unitsky's team in implementing UST technology and high-speed transportation in particular, we get reassured once again that Dr. Unitsky is not just a genius inventor, manager, and the creator of the engineering school. He's also a genius and professional salesperson. No, be careful, Maksim. I might have a halo on my head, above my head. You're describing me like a saint person. But it's a fact, Dr. Unitsky. I'm not a salesperson. You are a salesperson. Let me say it in my own words, of course, okay? Of course you can. So when an evaluation is made, this methodology hasn't been invented by me, although, of course, I have a high degree. I have 10 different degrees, and 3 of them have a diploma to confirm it. One of them is patents, inventions, and intellectual property rights. So basically, I have knowledge, expertise in that area. And I also was head of the licensing institute of the polymer institute under the Academy of Sciences of Belarus in the Soviet times, and our institute usually ranked the first place in terms of number of inventions. When I was head of the institute, there was an institute in Gomel with 200 researchers that became a #1 institute in the entire Soviet Union. So I am a specialist in that area with a degree. So this methodology, the evaluation of the intellectual property, has been developed and implemented by a company headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. And there are different approaches. For example, cost-based approach or model, which is not entirely correct. So you know the black square. If you assess the Malevich's famous painting, Black Square, only based on costs, then probably the price will be $5 only. If you assess the price of the colors, the paintbrushes, etc., no. There are other factors in play. For example, how in demand this technology is, how it compares to other technologies once it scales up. Scales up, I repeat, not just single case. And usually inventors make a mistake when assessing the scale. Not everyone knows that when IBM developed their personal computer, the analysts predicted that probably in the world there will be 10 computers, or probably 12 computers. Well, 20 computers is too many. Nobody would need 20 computers in the entire world. The developers of the mobile connectivity, when they came up with the big mobile phone, remember those big old things, was like a suitcase. They've predicted that in the entire world, that would be 500 mobile phones sold. Now we have billions of mobile phones across the world. In other words, any technology needs to be scaled up. It's the economy of scale. You need to research the market. And the market is huge for string transportation technology. We're talking about replacing railroads or supplementing and motor roads, because our transportation is safer, more economical, and more environmentally friendly. And like when we go back in time, we know that cars have replaced horses and horse-driven carriages. So eventually, string transportation will replace other obsolete types of transportation. So we analyze the situation across the entire world. We analyze the demand for such roads in Russia, India, China, the United States, Nepal, the United Arab Emirates. So country by country analysis, the need for this transportation. And the evaluation was based on resource intensiveness, capital costs. But what about the materials and resources saved if we replace railroads with string transportation? Or probably we could use railroads on overpasses. And then, as a comparative basis, a project was used in Taiwan, built by using Japanese technology. It's a railroad from the capital to another adjacent city, more than 100 kilometers long. To understand how resource-intensive it is, let me give you some numbers. The span length between two supports was 45 meters. We have different spans from 10 to 300 meters, 400 meters. There, it's 35 meters, the span between one support and the other. And on the supports, there were two beams, steel concrete beams, weighing around 800 tons. On those beams, there was a plate that weighs 1,200 kilograms. And then there was the rails and the everything else. So the load was so heavy on the supports that they needed very, very massive supports for that. You might see somewhere else something similar. By the way, Mr. Petrov was there. He can confirm my words. So the load on the supports is so big that under each support, there were 4 piles, 2 meters wide, driven into the soil, into the land, to keep it steady. Up to 60 meters long piles. We're talking about huge rods driven into the land. So the one support requires as many resources as we need to build an entire kilometer of track. So you see the difference. And then if you build millions of tracks, then you can see how much resources are needed, and then compare it to how much or how many materials and resources will be needed for building similar length of string tracks. And then, of course, you need to calculate it with the adjustment for inflation, and you will see the difference in price that I've just said. It's around $500 billion or $400 billion. It's an investment evaluation, of course, not market evaluation, but once it's implemented, it will become market evaluation, actual evaluation. And some people say that it's too much or it's too little. Well, guys, it wasn't me who evaluated it. It was done by the independent evaluation agency. It wasn't me, and all the adjustment factors were taken into account too. For example, $1,000 today is what? $10 in 50 years because of depreciation. So basically you have to recalculate, taking into account the time factor. So we're talking about the evaluation of the intellectual property here, plus the capital cost and everything else. Dr. Unitsky, can we make a conclusion here that intellectual property can be actually assessed once it's funded and implemented into practice, correct? Yes, of course. If it's not implemented, then it will be just a virtual number. When Coca-Cola bought the recipe from a pharmacy, well, there is a legend that Coca-Cola bought the recipe for $50 from a pharmacy, and then know-how became confidential. Probably there is no know-how whatsoever. Probably it's just a sheet of paper with the formula on it. Probably there is no formula on it at all. It's not like our technology that has thousands of secrets. And they created more than a $3 trillion business in 125 years. So basically, this is how you can create the biggest business out of one sheet of paper with a formula on it, recipe on it. But our business is more serious, of course. So we're talking about also evaluation taking into account future revenues, future profits. So basically, what we're assessing here is my brains that came up with this brainchild, that created a patent, wrote a monograph, created know-how, and of course, we're not disclosing our know-how, and that's not an easy thing to do. In the Soviet times, they wanted to create a good automobile. What they did is they reverse engineered a Mercedes and wanted to create a Mercedes, but they couldn't. They created some kind of a Soviet old-fashioned car. In other words, even if you have something to break down and reverse engineer, it doesn't mean that you will be able to recreate the original model, because there is a lot of hidden know-how, like alloys, like different lubricants used, etc., etc. So there will be a lot of things that you won't be able to identify unless you are a developer yourself. So of course, there was a high-speed component in it, but it was assessed only as capital costs. But the advantage of the high-speed transportation is a completely different matter. It's not about this. Of course, You save a lot of resources. But it was also calculated for urban systems and cargo with suspended, not just high-speed transportation. So this, let's say, the share of high-speed transportation in the property is not that big in terms of resource intensiveness. But also we have other kind of costs, like consumption costs of energy and fuel. When we buy a car that weighs, I don't know, 2 tons, for example, but it is able to burn 10,000 tons of fuel that will cost more than the car itself eventually. And it's not effective. And those costs are even higher than the cost of the metal used to produce a car. And in high-speed transportation, it's the same. Some people think, what's the difference? 100 kilometers, 500 kilometers? Who cares? No. The difference is huge. It's like heaven and earth. It's like comparing a tractor to an airplane. The comparison is just here, the same difference. And it's so difficult that many countries, developed countries, such as the United States of America, Russia, India, powerful countries, weren't able to implement high-speed railway transportation. Simply couldn't, because it's not an easy thing to do. And for example, the United States, the USSR, I remember back in 1960s, before the dissolution, tried to build high-speed transportation, maglev transportation, and they spent around $5 billion without achieving anything. They weren't even able to build a model on the maglev. It did move, but it weren't able to stop. It broke through the hangar wall. But still, people were happy because it moved. Well, it kind of broke through the wall, and it moved at like 25 kilometers per hour and not 500 kilometers per hour. But at least it moved. And all they had to show for it is just a model, just a prototype that couldn't even brake on its own. And it was stopped by a mountain of sand only. And then they broke champagne and drank it and kind of celebrated this huge achievement. But it's ridiculous. The high-speed transportation is a completely different beast. It's not about these small achievements. Something bigger. Let me tell you what high-speed aerodynamics is. Dr. Unitsky, here, I think, allow me to interfere. So right now, you are moving on to the intellectual property that you are contributing to the group of companies in the United States. Yes, exactly. Of course, it is a completely different thing, unlike our investments probably think. We haven't evaluated aerodynamics. It wasn't included in the assessment. No money was raised for aerodynamics, high-speed aerodynamics. And this is a very important thing to understand. This is a very, very complex thing to understand. And back in the day when I was a student, I came up with an example. And by the way, we didn't study aerodynamics in the institute. I had to study it on my own because I had a specialty in motor roads, and I know the formula, and I know what aerodynamic power and resistance are. It's 1/2 of the density of air multiplied by a cube of velocity, plus we have different other components such as air resistance, etc. It's a very complex formula. And all of the parameters are to the first power, except the speed. The speed is to the power of 3. And back in the day, when I was a student, I came up with an example. Imagine we're driving a luxury car at 100 kilometers per hour. And that luxury car consumes, let's say, uses 20 kilowatt, which is 5 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. Very good characteristics. And now let's speed that car to accelerate that car to 500 kilometers as a mind exercise. Remember, it's velocity to the power of 3 cubic. So it's 5 by 5, but 5. It will be 125 times. So there it was 20 kilowatt power of the drive. And at 500 kilometers, it will be 2,500 kilowatt, which is 3 tank engines. 2,500 kilowatts, which means 600 liters of fuel per hour. So a car, to develop that speed, will have to tag along a whole big tank of fuel. This is what aerodynamics is all about. And people are working on the maglift, on wheels, etc. And I realized aerodynamics is the key. That's the key. You need to improve the aerodynamics, and maglift cushion suspension will not produce the desired result. And some of those trains consume more energy and fuel than airplanes. Airplane is the least efficient fuel-wise transportation, and the designers did not think about it. And I was a student back then, and I thought about it and realized that maglift, you just push it and it goes without resistance. So that resistance is very little compared to the aerodynamic resistance. So they tried to lift the whole thing in order to avoid the contact between the train and the rail. But by doing it, they increased the aerodynamic resistance compared to, for example, a steel wheel. And I knew about it, I saw it, and I would leave out the magnetic cushion. I would leave out the pneumatic system, and I would only leave the steel wheel, because back in the day, that seemed the most reasonable thing to do. And going back to the aerodynamics here, just imagine that you build a network of roads, millions of kilometers across the world, and then you can see how many high-speed tracks we would need for that in every single country. And then you see millions and millions of cars running along those roads. And compare it, for example, to a Bugatti, for example. One of the coolest cars out there, fastest cars, which costs around 3 million euros. And to develop 400 kilometers per hour, you need 1,500 horsepower. And if you want higher speed, then you can get up to 2,000 kilowatts. So Bugatti, to transport 2 passengers, needs to have a 2,000 kilowatt engine to overcome aerodynamics resistance, which is thousands or hundreds of liters of fuel per hour used. And our cars, U-Pods or 48 seaters, for example, need 600 kilowatts, 700 kilowatts. Just imagine one car, you can reduce the side of the engine power by 1,000 kilowatts. One car only, which means that you save fuel by 250 kilograms of fuel per hour. That's your fuel consumption savings. If the car works 24/7, well, minus the maintenance works, multiplied by 20, you get 5 tons per day. Multiplied by 365 or 300 days in a year, you get 15,000 tons. Sorry, 1,500 tons of fuel. And the railway tank transporting fuel, it's what, 1,500 tons. So basically, one car will allow us to save 30,000 tons of fuel. It's 10 rolling stocks, full rolling stocks, locomotive plus all the cars, with 52 tanks on wheels. So this is what aerodynamics is all about. And this is the huge advantage of my invention, the high-speed string transportation, in view of the aerodynamics, and not just resource saving. And I started thinking about it back in the student days. And then came the 1910s with 1990s, sorry, with wind tube tests in a specific institute where submarines are tested, and I came up with unique results. And it all started back in the Soviet times, and that's where I invented all of it, came up with it, and continued developing this aerodynamics. And we came up with unique results that the wind tube tests were attended by doctors of sciences, and they were impressed with the characteristics. They couldn't believe their eyes, and I told them, look, the instruments can't lie, and the numbers were impressive. And Bugatti, for example, was 7 times worse than the results that we achieved. And then also imagine that at 500 kilometers, the kind of resistance and air fluctuations are terrible. You can literally, the entire car can roll over if you do not put on specific special windbreakers. And Bugatti can only transport 2 passengers. Our car can transport 48 passengers. So one car can save up to 30,000 tons of fuel, which would cost $130 million or even more. So this is what aerodynamic is all about. This is what it means. And then we made a evaluation of the intellectual property of aerodynamics. Here it is, the report, evaluation report. And in there, I think this is it. I was showing it in the wrong camera. Could you please show the screenshot? This is the executive summary. It's 2.8 trillion US dollars. $2.8 trillion. This is the value of the intellectual property. And this was the evaluation based on the current market value of the technology. If we take into account steel wheels and aerodynamic parameters, because steel wheels contribute greatly to the whole evaluation, plus the overpasses, of course. Because Bugatti has a very poor aerodynamics, and because the track are very close, and it serves as a screen. Doesn't matter if it's water, if it's gravel, if it's asphalt, it still serves as a screen, as a resistance barrier. So in order to improve the aerodynamics, we lift the car and then we remove the screen at 3, 5, 6 meters at least. In our case, in our string transportation that I came up with, there is no screen, there is no resistance, there are only 2 rails. And that's why the air fluctuates both on top and on the bottom. And there are no losses of energy to overcome aerodynamic resistance because of the parasite screen effect. So basically, this effect allows us to save fuel, not only because of the car, but also we achieve savings thanks to the tracks, to the overpasses and supports. Plus, imagine a car is moving at 500 kilometers and then you need to turn. And in order to turn, you need at least 500 meters radius curve in order for the train to make a smooth curve. Otherwise, the train would fly out of the tracks because of the centrifugal force. It's one of the biggest, by the way, problems of railways. When everything is heated to immense temperatures, when French were trying to obtain high speeds at TGV. I think it was 600 kilometers per hour. That's the speed they achieved. I saw the videos of the train, of those tests. They were getting ready for it for 1 year, for one pass only. And then it took them 2 years to repair the tracks after the test. Everything was like vibrating. And then the contact, the grid, the cables were literally burning hot because at that speed, the currents, the temperature is immense. And then it also you need to make sure that traction is ensured. And also you need to have connection with the dispatch stations and with the control towers, etc. And it's all part of the high-speed string transportation. It's not just a model or a prototype or a car or a rolling stock. It's all factors taken together. We didn't, again, able to develop the speed of 500 just because we didn't have enough funding, because all of it costs immense money, not just because we need to build long testing tracks and we weren't able to obtain a long enough land plot in Belarus, we weren't able, but also we're talking about high salaries of highly specialized engineers, specialists. And in other cases, in other companies, it took them years and years to even achieve, come closer, even close to what we are doing right now. And we're talking about a model, a car, that has thousands of different components. And such a car, our car, can be even more complex than an airplane. Some people wrote on the internet, some haters were saying that Dr. Unitsky took kind of an electric motor from a coffee grinder and then put some cardboard on top, and that's his high-speed transportation. Just look under the hood, see how complex the whole system is. It's more complex than a Tesla car. Just because we have automated control system, and Tesla doesn't have it, the automated control system, after spending billions of dollars, and we do. So we weren't able, due to a number of reasons, to fully implement high-speed transportation. So our entire team were able to develop two commercial products, which is urban passenger transportation and cargo transportation up to 150 kilometers per hour. Because you can start a lot of different initiatives and never finish anything. It's like starting to build a 3-story building, and you have money enough to build 2 floors, and you didn't build the 3rd floor and the roof. And all the investors who invested in the first 2 floors eventually lose money because they never finished construction. What I decided is, let's finish at least something. We built a 2-floor building instead of a 3-floor. We built 1 floor, which is passenger transportation, and the other one is a cargo transportation. And we left high speed until better times. For example, a car is the same like horse-driven carriage, but instead of a horse, you get an internal combustion engine. But the principle is the same. A carriage is being driven by an engine. But Ford didn't build roads. Ford didn't build traffic lights. He didn't build overpasses and bridges. He just created vehicles. Of course, it was easier for him. Someone else took care of the roads and everything else. And we are creating an entire complex. We take care of the rails, overpasses, supports, cars themselves, etc., etc. And in our case, a motor wheel is a special kind of wheel. We're talking about a motor wheel that has like 1,000 rounds per minute with very solid bearings. There was an accident in Germany on the high-speed railroad. The speed was, it's not even was 500 kilometers, it was 350 kilometers per hour, I think. And when that train was going, the tracks were not switched well enough. It was not fully switched. And the wheel got stuck in between 2 rails. And the wheel was literally shaved off because of the high speed and energy. And because of the centrifugal force, the entire wheel was straightened out like an arrow, and it was like shot at a huge velocity, and it pierced several people. And again, there was no emergency system in place, and the entire car was turned at 90 degrees, and that car smashed into a support of an overpass. And on top, there were lots of cars going, and all the cars fell down, and hundreds of people died. And the problem was the design of the wheel. A single wheel is a very complex engineering product, and there are thousands of such components, hundreds of such components in a U-pod, in a string car. We're talking about very, very complex systems and subsystems, and some countries weren't able to develop it in years. And I know how to do it. All we need for that is money and land to build our test track. And that's what we're going to find in the United States. And we have already found land, and now the land is being allocated. I'm not going to give you exact names and addresses. I can give you the name of the state. It's Colorado. Well, we have to go through some red tape, of course, and then eventually close the deal. But we already have a gentleman's agreement, handshake agreement with that owner. So if you shake hands and if the owner says, I will give you land, it means they will give you land. The only thing needs to be done is sign the papers. So basically, in exchange of land, we gave shares. And this was actually the first sale of our shares. And eventually we will give you the coordinates. We will tell you where exactly it is. And we'll start construction eventually. And also I wanted to show you some features of that hub. I see, Maxim, you wanted to say something. Give me some time. And this hub is not just high-speed transportation hub. We also need to show integration with passenger, urban, and cargo transportation vehicles. We're talking about trillions of dollars of the American market. And of course, we need to show how it all works as a complex, as an integrated system. We need to show there, in the United States, certify there, according to their standards, or create a new standards, as we did in Belarus. They might be saying, no, they have no standards. We already have standards produced by the National Committee of Standardization of Belarus, approved at the governmental level. One national standard for the trusses, and the other one is for the strings themselves. So we are creating our own terminology. It's string rail, anchor knot, supports, the beam of variable rigidity, we call it the seat on the support of the track, the suspended system, elevated system, flexible rail, semi-rigid, semi-flexible rail, rigid track structure. Those are our terms. This is the terminology, nomenclature we created. There is a whole vocabulary of such terms. And again, the second standard related to the urban passenger transportation up to 150 kilometers, and the other one relates to the cargo transportation. So we're talking about a huge US market, and for us to be able to get there, I said, let's create a hub, not just high-speed transportation, but let's create a hub to showcase all of our inventions. And there, American customers will be able to place orders with us. And also, this is the technology that American investors will be able to invest. They will be able to invest also in high-speed transportation, but also in conjunction with passenger and cargo transportation. In other words, we will be showcasing all three types of transportation in just one place. So we will have passenger cargo suspended. We will have cargo and passenger combined and separately. You have Unitrans, for example, which is bulk transportation. We already have actual customers who placed orders for those type of transports. Customers that are already paying money or ready to pay money. We already have actual customers who placed orders for earmarked projects, targeted projects. And the money for the design work and for the feasibility study will go to the engineering school, which is part of GTI. Also, Dr. Unitsky, this is the biggest project for the UST group of companies, right, in the US. Yes, of course, and people don't understand that, and they kind of criticized me for, going to the US. They thought I was out of my mind. I'm not. I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for the benefit of all of our investors, because I'm an investor myself, not just a hired personnel that I was, picked somewhere on the street and on a salary, and I'm happy. No, I have my skin in the game, and I'm a very famous engineer. In the Soviet times, 30 of my inventions were implemented with huge royalties. In the Soviet times, I set up business companies that brought me profits, revenues, and so when we started implementing this particular project of the string transportation project, I came there already as an established businessman, inventor, engineer, and I contributed my intellectual property that I owned to GTI to give it back to the investors, because it is my intellectual property. At the same time, I'm watching Maxim here, but I guess I should be watching the camera. Sorry, Maxim, I won't be looking at you. I'll be looking at the camera lens. So please don't turn off your camera not to distract me. Okay, I will. So when investors purchase pre-IPO share packages, that money bypasses me. That money doesn't go to my pockets. It goes to GTI, and not all of the money goes to the engineering company. A lot of money is taken by the crowd investing platform and by the banks and all the middlemen. But lots of money also go as intended to the engineering company. And then that money is used to pay salaries to 1,000 engineers and R&D. So basically, the money that is paid for my intellectual property is reinvested. And I'm going to do the same in the United States, but in the United States, we have a more valuable technology, both in the scale, in terms of scale and sheer numbers. And when I say trillions, people are kind of simply scared by those numbers. Trillions? Other businesses worth $1 trillion? Of course. In the United States, there are several companies worth $1 trillion. And that technology will be sold in there through selling shares. It's a completely different story. We're talking about almost going to the stock market, but of course, we will be adhering to the US laws, and it is very easy to capitalize your inventions there. And then launching an IPO there wouldn't be a problem. All you have to do is to show your financial performance there in the United States, not only in terms of the high-speed transportation, but also in showcase the performance of the passenger and cargo transportation. And that's why we're building a hub, in order to showcase what we've achieved so far, owned by the old-timers, old-time investors. But I mean old, like seasoned investors. But also, we're going to showcase high-speed technology that will be receiving new money from new investors. And I wrote lots of articles and showed a lot of diagrams and graphs and tables, how much money was invested in high-speed transportation. Just 1% of all the funds raised. Believe me or not, doesn't care, don't matter, because I gave in exchange for 1%, 5% stake in the high-speed transportation. So I guess you can call it generosity if you want to. If you want to increase your stake in the high speed, you can invest in the United States project. It won't be subject to criticism from haters or governmental officials who might not be happy with it. It will be a normal joint stock company in the United States, operating according to the US law. So the company established there, and investments funds will be raised according to the US laws, and the hub will be built according to the US laws. So I guess this is what I wanted to tell you in a nutshell about the string transportation and the difference between two different intellectual properties. I told you about the resource intensiveness and aerodynamic resistance and related costs, and our work in the United States. And I kind of also told you what a US hub is all about. And again, all of it was done for the benefit of our investors, including me, because I'm also an investor. And one more important thing about it. Those earmarked targeted projects, which is urban passenger and cargo transportation, both suspended and elevated. Those products will be ordered by American customers, and they will own only the product without owning the rights, without owning the shares of the company. In other words, our certified products will be for sale without selling the intellectual property. And US company will be just an agent, sales agent. They will not own the technology. GTI will own the technology for urban and cargo transportation. And of course, revenues from sales profits will also be owned by GTI. And our investors will be receiving payouts from GTI. So US project is not kind of a standalone separate project. It's a hybrid model. And of course, we shouldn't be waiting for quick payouts. Time is needed. Tesla, for example, was created in 2003. And then in 2019, it was still working at a loss. We're talking about billions of dollars of loss. At 2019, after 16 years, it was still working at a loss. And only later, they started making profits, and then capitalization skyrocketed almost to like $1 trillion. So we're talking about a small-time company back then that skyrocketed. And it took them at least 19 years. Of course, once we move to the US market, our technologies will skyrocket too. It will be economy of scale, it will be a wow factor, etc. So at first, do not expect high dividends, high payouts in 2026. But it will be worth, the waiting will worth. It will be, the payout will be multifold. And there are lots of success stories in the history of humanity, and I covered some of them. Probably I didn't cover everything, but you can ask me additional questions, and I will try to answer those questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Unitsky, on behalf of all the participants of today's meeting for a very detailed answers. You gave very detailed information about the current state of affairs and also about the wisdom of the strategical decision to go to the US market. You know, Maxim, there are still a lot of people who don't or won't understand us. So basically, yes, there will be people who won't still understand everything, but probably it's because they don't want to understand. But what I see now, what our colleagues and investors are writing in the chat, and they are giving very much support. And guys in the chat, please tell me if you support Dr. Unitsky's decision to implement high-speed transportation in the US. And yeah, there are lots of like yeses, I support. It's clear as day, yes, of course. And I see not only Russian and English, but other languages. Take a look at the chat. We have hundreds of answers, positive answers per second here. So let me assure you, Dr. Unitsky, that most of our investors in UST fully support your decision as a genius inventor, but not only as an inventor in your main brainchild, as the Sync Transportation, but also as a experienced business professional and as a far-looking strategist. Do you think it was an easy decision for me to go to the US? It was a very difficult decision. When I see lack of funding, when I see that we won't be able to finish what we started, it broke my heart, and I realized that we would never finish it. It's like, remember this 3-floor building without the 3rd floor and the roof? That's why I started thinking about it in 2020. I gave it time, but nothing changed. And I realized that if the pace of fundraising would stay the same, we would never start implementing high-speed transportation. So people who invested only in high speed would never see their results. So basically, because of lack of funding, other people who wanted to invest in high speed would never see the fruit of their investments. So it was a hard decision. And one more thing here. Why? For some reason, most of our investors see only one side of it. Unitsky said, Unitsky promised, but why he couldn't deliver? Nobody looks into it. But I have a counter-argument. Investors promised to raise enough funds, but they didn't. Why? How can I deliver on my promises if investors did not deliver on their promises? Just imagine we need $1 million for a project. And that project is initiated, and imagine only $1,000 was invested instead of $1 million. So how can you deliver something that needs $1 million if you only receive $1,000? Yes, absolutely, Dr. Unitsky. I fully agree with you. And thank you very much again for the detailed answer that you gave. And I would like to ask one more question regarding the risks. In your opinion, Dr. Unitsky, are there any risks of implementing this kind of a large-scale project, high-speed hub, in order to showcase the entire sector? Do you think there are risks on the territory of the United States of that not happening or delaying, or any other hidden pitfalls? And you being the owner and the inventor of the technology, do you consider the option of implementing this project somewhere else except US? You know, I think the risks are almost non-existent. Of course, there are always some risks, but they are reduced almost to zero. Did you notice that I never mentioned technology-related risks? Never. Technology-related risks are not there, simply. Because all of those problems, issues can be all overcome with technological solutions, like very complex engineering calculations and estimations. And of course, it all requires an independent peer review for some of our solutions. We're talking about one of the projects in the implementation in Belarus. We will announce it shortly. But how can you make a peer review if you do not have the personnel for it or software for it? So a peer review sometimes is impossible because there are no experts in the field. There are no peers in the field. And we also, years ago, were not experts. We became experts. So we addressed all risks, technological risks, except funds-related risks. In the US, we reduced even that risk almost to zero, because we're talking about a very rich investment culture in the United States. The 19th century is a railroad century in the US, where they built more railroads than any other countries in a very short time. Yes, they connected big cities. Cities grew out of nowhere. They started exploring new territories thanks to railroad. The economy grew because of that. Then 20th century, the car appeared. The car roads appeared, motor roads, and the car-making industry appeared. And then other related industries appeared. We're talking about oil production, for example. Before Ford, oil was sold in kind of vials in pharmacies as a medical drug, as a medicine, FYI. And then eventually oil production scaled up, then petrochemistry, then polymer production. It's all related to the car industry, because cars require rubber for tires, for example, and plastic materials, etc. And car is not just about car making. There are lots of related industries, sectors around it. And I visited quite a lot of different states and suburbs as well. And I saw a lot of those cardboard houses in suburban areas. And sometimes you push it with a finger and the entire house collapses. Yes, it's when a tornado happens in the area. It literally uproots all the houses and trees and everything. It's like the Wizard of the Oz, remember, where that house was lifted in the air and then it was kind of taken to an entirely different place. Yes, of course. When we're talking about cars, and I, for example, can live in suburbs and work in the city. And because I own a car, I can commute back and forth. And we're talking about millions of US residents who live and work this way. And in the United States, high-speed transportation will produce huge results for the US economy, because linear cities is the concept of linear cities is even better, way better than one-story America, one-floor America, because we're talking about very solid concept here with zero-waste houses here, with power units in every house. And I remember I lived in a small, let's call it cardboard house in the United States, and there was a small yard around that house, and it was a very, very small land plot that you couldn't plant a kitchen garden there or an orchard. But there is another life where you can have a house and a good yard, that you can grow things and live off your own land. And still you will be able, thanks to string transportation, to move between suburbs and city. Or you can create a linear city around your house, and you won't have to commute at all, in order to avoid all the traffic congestions and traffic jams. We're talking about a completely different infrastructure, where internet can be laid along the string tracks. Why use satellites? Because Elon Musk promised to launch 40,000 satellites and litter the entire outer space. We're talking about thousands of rockets launched into the orbit. Rockets literally pierce the ozone layer, destroying millions of tons of ozone, creating holes in the ozone layer like huge tunnels, which is terrible. And frequent launches of the rockets will destroy the ozone layer, and then we'll get ultraviolet irradiation and skin cancer and stuff, because it is the ozone layer that blocks the ultraviolet radiation. Around 4% is blocked by of the sun irradiation. So the ozone layer has a huge effect on everything on Earth. including the climate, and the impact is even bigger than all the production facilities combined. But nobody's talking about it, about all those heavy rockets launched there, burning fuel. But why should we launch satellites if we can lay the cables and the fiber optic along our string rails? So we can use our supports for this, and also we can use our supports as mobile towers. Why not? So imagine when they're using satellite connection, the ping, the time lags are huge, and compared to the cables laid on the ground. So I guess the overall internet traffic can be even bigger than, in absolute numbers, than the actual passenger and cargo traffic, and it's trillions of dollars. Well, I would like to ask you a final question in view of what you've said. What do you think what is your vision of the future of the UST technology in the next 10 years? Well, we have already started scaling up 2 commercial products that we've created so far, which is urban passenger and cargo transportation. And now we've already have a number of projects in the pipeline, not just negotiations. We're talking about down payments made already. Not huge money, but money nevertheless. So we've crossed that threshold of disbelief. For example, in Belarus, we have national standards already. We already started transporting passengers. We convinced them to come and see. And when they came and took a ride, their eyes were opened and they said, it's cool, it's like an entire sector. And they forgot all about what they were thinking before. And it snapped something in their heads, and they thought, and they said, but it turns out we are ahead of the entire planet. And they said, let's create national standards for this. It was on their own initiative. And in literally 3 months, national standards were created for string transportation and adopted. Just because those officials saw everything with their own eyes, took a ride, touched, not somewhere on paper or on screen or on videos, but in real life, with their own eyes, and it changed them. They became our supporters, although they were opponents, literally opponents. And the same thing will happen in the United States. A country where the markets of passenger, cargo transportation and high-speed transportation are assessed at trillions of dollars. At the same time, we're scaling up our projects in India, in Nepal, and we have teams, people that will tell you more about those projects today. In Russia, we have dozens of projects at different stages, different milestones in the pipeline. There will be down payments made for some of them already very soon. Because, it's a PPP, private-public partnership, and you have to convince a lot of governmental officials, starting from the governor all the way to the regional Ministry of Transportation. But it is all solvable, overcomable. Lots of different projects at different stages of implementation. But still, many people don't understand, don't see it clearly. They think Unitsky is a kind of a scammer, fraudster. It's not me calling myself this. It's how other people call me, just because someone 10, 15, 20 years ago said it, because we had nothing to show for. And those sayings, those statements back then still work against us. But it will very soon end. when we'll have one new pod, a second one, a 10th one, a 100th one in different countries, that's where everything will change. And then it will have this snowball effect, when we'll have thousands of orders, because we overcome the barrier that was very difficult to overcome. And when we came to the United States, we didn't have all that bad history. We didn't took all that bad baggage. I received an O1 visa. O1 visas are issued only to extraordinary people, talented people, scientists, researchers. Although I am kind of a Russian/Belarusian, and currently there is a lot of bad publicity about those countries. But for Americans, it doesn't matter. For investors, it doesn't matter. And my conversation with that farmer showed me that your origin, your nationality should not be an obstacle. If you have something worth presenting, offering, and when he gifted me a book with the history of his family starting from the 17th century, and I told him, you're going to write a similar book when you were at the beginning of an entire sector in the United States, string transportation sector. Absolutely right you are, Dr. Unitsky. I would like to read out some of the comments for you to understand that we came through that journey, difficult journey together, always supporting you. Let me read it out for you, what our investors are writing. Dr. Unitsky, a lot of people think otherwise. From the first minute that I met you, I've been feeling to you immense gratitude. Someone says, yes, I've been an investor since 2015, and I never trusted politicians, but I trusted you. And nobody was selling this technology to me. So what else I wanted to read to you? You proved by action. You proved your words by action. And what you're doing right now in the territory of the United States, you are putting your money where your mouth is. So you're walking the walk, talking the talk. And we're sure that you will implement that large-scale hub construction project that is the biggest commercial project for the UST group of companies. So Dr. Unitsky, from the bottom of my heart, all our hearts, thank you very much for finding time in your very tight schedule to be there on this day off, on this Saturday. I know that even Saturdays and Sundays are working days for you. So again, on behalf of all our participants, I would like to thank you for finding time to participate in such an exclusive meeting live with us. This is the event that many investors and many of your supporters have been looking forward to. Thank you very much, Dr. Unitsky. Again, would like to wish you success in implementing all of your plans. We would like those plans to come true. And we want one more project to be implemented, successfully implemented, and we will provide all the support you need. I would like to thank you for your support and your understanding. And I would like to thank all of our investors. It is only thanks to you that we were able to achieve what we've achieved. And it is only thanks to the investors that we'll be able to achieve and implement what we're planning to implement in the United States. So we have the foundation for this project. We've laid it. And this foundation is not just a technology. It's hundreds of thousands and millions of people who believed in it and who shared their funds, invested into their future. Without it, nothing would be possible. I wouldn't be speaking here in front of you. I would have no one to speak to in front to, and I would have nothing to speak about. Yeah, all I would have is blueprints, and I would be probably walking from door to door and knocking on doors with my suitcase, with my mock-up models, mock-up rails, when I tried to convince ministers, officials, presidents, and I wasn't able to. But hundreds of thousands of people, of common people like me, believed in, because I'm also an investor. And they invested into this future, our future. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Unitsky. And we wish you successful implementation of all of your plans, and believe us as crowd investing community, as investors into your technology, as people who supported your first initiative through RSW Systems platform. We will always be there for you. We will see that journey until its end, and we will always support all your concepts, ideas, and initiatives. Thank you very much for that. And now we will move on to the results that we have achieved so far on different territories and regions. But before we move on to our interviews with the top management of UST group of companies, I would like us together to watch one of the previous digests, news digests, that will show us what kind of work has been done so far by UST group of companies. And we will see it all in the form of a video, and after that, we will launch a survey for all our guests here. Please be active, participate in that survey. It's a poll. There will be only 3 questions that you need to answer, or 3 points that you need to fill in. One question will be about the country you're from, and then we'll be asking for your feedback on the meeting. And after the poll, after the survey, we will move on to our next guest, with whom we will continue our discussion about the achievements achieved by the UST group of companies. So, dear friends, please, all eyes on the screen. It will be the news digest, then we'll have the poll, and then we will go according to our agenda.
Многообещающие проекты UST.
Promising UST projects in Europe, India, and Nepal, high-level negotiations in Dubai, and a groundbreaking development for the Karat complex. This is the UST Digest, where we share the company's most important news. Projects. Nepal. Authorities in the country's eastern province have given the green light to the construction of a 7-kilometer string rail track connecting 2 cities. But this is just the beginning. The route could eventually extend to an impressive 45 kilometers. The project has received support from the Provincial Investment Board and the Department of Infrastructure and Transport. The feasibility study has been completed, and our specialists are now negotiating financing and legal matters. This project marks a new chapter in Nepal's transportation history. India. Authorities in one of the Indian states have approved a tourist route leading to a famous waterfall. But this is more than just a transportation solution, it's a real challenge. The complex must be built in a protected natural area, while preserving its unique ecosystem. This is one of the region's major landmarks, located in India. The plan is to enhance the area's tourist appeal and solve the problem of transport accessibility along a short section. The route will make the waterfall one of the most recognizable attractions in the world, drawing visitors with a unique blend of nature and technology. Events. United Arab Emirates. A delegation from Dubai's Roads and Transport Authority visited the uSky Center in Sharjah. The meeting focused on expanding cooperation. The partnership with the RTA began in 2018, when a Memorandum of Understanding was signed. At that time, the discussion was about a 15-kilometer track. Since then, following a detailed evaluation of the technology, RTA announced last year plans to build around 68 kilometers of roads using various suspended transport systems, primarily string transportation. Negotiations are now in their final phase, and key decisions are expected soon.
Скоро будут приняты ключевые решения.
Belarus. Work is progressing actively here as well.
Беларусь.
The State Committee for Standardization has approved the first national standard for UST technology, which will take effect on July the 1st, 2025. This document formalizes key terms used to describe the technology and will serve as the foundation for future regulatory frameworks. Two additional draft standards for passenger and cargo unimobiles have already passed metrological and technical reviews and have been submitted to the national standards body for final approval. For us, these legal requirements for rail-based transportation systems that will allow us to conduct official tests in certified laboratories and even apply for certification. These documents are expected to be finalized in the second quarter of 2025. They will significantly simplify the rollout of our technology in countries of the Eurasian Union.
Технологий в странах ЕАЭС.
Developments.
Разработки. А теперь о
Now,
скорости
about the
Карат.
speed of Karat.
В центре
At the uSky Center, our engineers are preparing to test the traction power supply system for our flagship U-Pod, Unimobile. The system will supply power to the track structure, while the onboard converter installed in the vehicle will ensure efficient energy use. The result? Karat will be able to accelerate to 120 km per hour or even faster. This will be a real breakthrough for our transportation technology. That was the UST Digest. Only the most important and exciting updates. Want to learn more? Visit our website and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode.
Дорогие партнеры, дорогие коллеги,
Dear partners, dear colleagues, dear friends, now I would like the moderator of our meeting to launch the poll that I mentioned. So let's keep it on for 7 minutes so that people could answer those 3 questions. And for us, it will be a short break. While you will be filling in this form, the form is in the chat. The link to the form is in the chat. You can follow the link and fill in the form. Meanwhile, we will make a very short break so that our dedicated interpreters would be able to take a break, drink some water, take a rest. And after you fill in the form, after that short break, we will have some unique, and I would say inside information and news about the new commercial projects in different regions. So, dear friends, ahead of us, we have very unique information in store for us, so please do not leave and wait until the next section, part, milestone of our meeting. So, dear friends, again, please follow the link in the chat, please fill in the form, and see you here in 7 to 10 minutes. We will continue, resume. Dear guests, dear friends, it is a great pleasure for me to move on to our next speaker. And today we will learn together about how the UST group of companies is conducting their marketing operations, commercial operations in the CIS territory, Eastern Europe territory, and overall, what kind of results have been achieved in the implementation of the commercial projects and the preparation for the launch of such projects. And it is with great honor that I give the floor to our guest, Mr. Yevgeny Petrov, Deputy General Director for the UST Group of Companies for Marketing. Yevgeny, I'm giving you the floor, and I would like to see you among us. Yes, I can see you. Hello, everyone. Mr. Petrov, Yevgeny, I think it would be more reasonable for us to start our interview with a question. So how do you conduct your marketing commercial operations? What they are all about?
Ну, хороший вопрос, на самом деле.
Well,
Маркетинг — это
good question, by the way.
посредник
Marketing
продуктом,
is
покупателем, да, и
a middleman between the product and the buyer.
истории группы компаний.
And marketing in the UST
Он со
group of
временем
companies,
трансформировался.
the Unitsky's group of company,
Вы
over time
многие
has transformed quite considerably, changed considerably. Many of you probably have been observing the project for quite some time now, and you must have noticed that in 2017, 18, 2019, we saw a period of very active marketing operations activity. We participated in many different professional expos. Most of them was InnoTrans in Berlin. We participated in it twice. We attracted quite a lot of attention and interest from many participants, and there were other expos in United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, and we represented our company on different levels in different regions at the highest level possible with very positive feedback. But it was a period of working with the cold market. So basically, our expectations were for us to meet our potential customers. We would meet with them, we would raise their interest, and then continue our collaboration. And that strategy was correct back then. It proved right. And throughout several years, we've been accumulating business contacts. We've been accumulating business contacts for different projects. And it was when we started working on those projects. Today, we've moved away from working with cold market. We're now working with warm market, with the prepared clients, preliminary prepared clients. So we can say that right now we have very extensive network of contacts, and people know about it, people heard about it, they take us seriously wherever we come, and now we have experts talking to us. We have agents and that rank top 5 GR specialists in Nepal. We have a lot of results, a lot of a very high level of representation. You'll learn more about it. We have high-ranking officials that build connections, relationship between business and the state, and between business and business. So because our customers usually are big business or the state itself, if we're talking about passenger transportation. And the same can be said about the product marketing in terms of the positioning. We regularly update our presentational materials. All of it is aimed at clients and not at the wide audience. And probably it is because of that the intensity of videos on our YouTube channels, the intensity of news has reduced in the last 2 years. But it was because in the limited resources environment, the priority was placed on targeted work and earmarked work. But nevertheless, we will try to catch up in terms of our reaching out to wide audience, and probably you saw some results already. The first digest was recently produced, and then a second one will be published with Mr. Kubushkin, who is the chief engineer. There is an interview, please watch it if you haven't yet. In my opinion, it was very informative, and we will continue that work. We will identify several formats, which is interviews, the engineers' diaries, regular digests, video reports on the projects that are in the pipeline right now. It will be quite intensive. After we are done with the pilot episodes, there is an interview, pilot digest. So basically, we've already test ran the templates, and then we will start producing it in series. I would like to express our gratitude to your entire team, Mr. Petrov. Then the digest you are publishing now, a lot of investors have welcomed it kindly, and they were looking forward to it. And the way the information is delivered is a very high-class delivery. It explains in a nutshell all the essence of what's happening in the UST group of companies. So please accept our gratitude for bringing to us this new way of delivering the information to all of the investors who are observing the development of the UST. Well, thank you very much, Maxim, for your kind words. Indeed, in the commercial management of Unitsky String Technologies, Inc., we have a very strong team, as is in other departments as well. But of course, it took us time. It's been 4 years that I've been in the department, and a lot of we had a big turnover of staff too. People came, people left, and now we have no weak links in our chain. We have very good analysts. We have very cool video production team that produces high-level outcome result. We have high-level marketing specialists. We have our own designer school, if you will. If you take a look at the presentations and leaflets and books that the commercial department is issuing, it's a high-class level. And that was our overall goal, of course, and that's how it should be. However, what is being done for public in general, of course, it is done with attention being paid to our targeted projects as well. We do not ignore them. Almost literally every week we have several negotiations and meetings held all over the world, in Europe, in Southeast Asia, in the United States, other countries. What I can tell you here is that last meeting we had several meetings. On Monday we already have a meeting with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. And then on Tuesday we will go to the Nizhny Novgorod. There will be a regional forum between Russia and Belarus, to be attended with high-ranking officials. Several meetings are scheduled already. And the city itself, Nizhny Novgorod, for us is a very promising city. Two rivers there collide or fall into each other, and overcoming that river barrier is a huge headache for the local residents and the municipality. Right now, they are using a cable track road, and they are planning to build another one. And we know for sure that their urban development provides for 2 more overpass tracks. That's what we're going to discuss with them. And other regions too are represented at this forum, and we have already meetings scheduled, appointments made to start initiating projects together or move on, because we have other countries like Kazakhstan, Belarus, Mongolia interested, and orders placed already. We have dozens of such projects, and we're already putting efforts into the implementation of those projects. So what you mean is that work right now is conducted not only within the existing projects, but also there is a certain sequence of actions that you take to reach out to new potential prospects and customers. And all that activity is gaining pace, right? Considering your tight schedule for next week alone. Yevgeny, you're with us? Yevgeny, did you hear what I've said? Because you froze there for a second. I think you should turn on your mic. We still can't hear you.
Проблемы со связью.
Now we can hear you.
Слышно? Прием, прием. Да, конечно, мы,
Well, of course.
то есть, вот мы озвучивали уже, что
I already said that we have around 200 different projects across the world at different stages of implementation, of course. Somewhere it's the first presentations, first discussions, the setting up of a focus group, development of an action plan. Somewhere we are very close to closing the deal, signing the contract for construction work, civil works. Somewhere the deal is already closed and civil works have started. I can tell you that next week, well, from the 1st to the 11th of July, we will have a business trip to Rostov-on-Don. It's a Russian city. And there we already received a confirmation of interest from the Ministry of Transportation in the implementation of a project that was already mentioned in the media about connecting like a residential area to a business center. So we got the attention of the Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Architecture of the region, and they proposed implementing another big project for a long stretch, a long track, connecting suburbs to the downtown. And all of it will be discussed early July. We are waiting for some very good results coming out of it. Very cool news. Thank you very much for sharing. Considering your very tight schedule, which is a huge indicator that the interest in the implementation of the string transportation technology in the region is growing. Also, would like to hear from you, if it's possible, of course, to tell us, to lift the veil about some of the projects already in the implementation that are very close to being implemented, the first stages of implementation to be initiated, be it a feasibility study or design works, or be it contract signing. What can you tell us? What kind of good news can you share and make us happy? Probably some exclusive news that we've been looking forward to. Well, I already shared some exclusive news with you already regarding, for example, the project on Rostov-on-Don, because it's a very serious project, and we have huge hopes that the result will be not long in coming. Another thing that we haven't yet announced, for example, the Belarusian project. We already in Belarus have a project, Unilight, we all know about it, and it was a very wise decision by the chief designer for the implementation of the first commercial project in Belarus close to the Eco-Techno Park, because when Unilight complex was officially opened, launched, Belarusian officials saw everything with their own eyes, as Dr. Unitsky mentioned in his speech. And also those officials, they're still coming there. And Unilight transport passengers on a daily basis, and officials can see with their own eyes what we've achieved. They can take rides themselves, they can touch it, they can see it, they can see how fast, how comfortable, how cool it is. Several delegations were there with me personally, and they were impressed how swiftly Unilight overcomes turns, which is impossible to do on railways. Such sharp turns are literally impossible. Here you can do it at high speeds, and you can see everything from the bird's view. And this project allowed us to make a huge step forward in terms of our progress in Belarus. And what I can tell you more, in addition to the standards adopted in Belarus, 3 standards, transportation standards: terminology, then standards for rolling stock and string transportation, and the third standard was for cargo string transportation. 3 standards. This is a huge national standards. This is a huge step forward. Now we will have them adopted at the international level. This is our next step. And then probably we will move on to the technical regulations of the customs union, which comprises more than, 6 or 5 countries. But we also moved very far forward with another Belarusian project. We're talking about a resort complex. It's a wellness center. We have a track that will be connecting 2 buildings of that resort. It's a compact but yet very useful track. And the technical terms of reference are being reviewed right now. So this is how it happens usually. First, you create terms of reference for the facility, not by us, but we participate at the expert level. A authoritative, reputable Belarusian organization develops terms of reference. Then those terms of reference are reviewed and approved by all the relevant authorities, the Ministry of Transportation, the Ministry of Emergency Situations, and the Emergency Ministry was the last link in the chain. And those special terms of references will be adopted, and after they are adopted, a terms of reference for design will be created. So of course, we decided not to wait for the standards to be adopted. We started the design even before that. So our design documentation is almost ready. So literally, probably this month or early next month, the special terms of reference will be adopted without having to wait too long. The terms of reference for design will be drawn up and the contract will be signed. After that, we will submit the design documents for expert review, peer review, and according to our plans, this year in Belarus, we will start civil works, construction for this commercial project. Wow, this is some exclusive news that we've been looking forward to. That's exactly what I meant when I asked you for some exclusive news. Once it comes through, and I'm sure it will, and I hope it will this year, it will be the second commercial project in the Republic of Belarus, as far as I understand. Exactly, you're right. And in my opinion, this is a correct move, because for us, this is the best place to work, because this is where most of our engineering team is. It's cheaper for us to travel. We are familiar with the climate. We have a lot of testing experience in Ecotechno Park, the exact climatic conditions. Additionally, in order for our clients in other countries to get reassured that the technology is viable and it works, it doesn't matter where it is. The complex that I'm talking about is also very promising because it is quite a prestigious area, visited by a lot of high-ranking officials from neighboring countries like Russia, Kazakhstan. This is a high-end resort area. Azerbaijan too. All of those people will be able to witness it with their own eyes, and probably they will want something similar in their own country. So remember, Dr. Unitsky said in one of his speeches, videos, that because there is an existing project in Aquarel and Ecotechno Park is close by, and because this area is visited by officials, that's how one of the potential commercial projects was possible. It was attended by a governor of some region, no? Well, this is what's happening on a regular basis. So people come there to have a rest, to improve their health, to enjoy the landscape, and they see the string transportation in action. They ask for a tour, they ask for a ride, and then they reach out to us and they start like saying that we came here and by accident, by chance, we saw the string transportation. We would like to build something similar in our region. Exactly. This is, there is a saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Exactly. So look, Mr. Petrov, I see lots of questions related to our project in Kazakhstan. I know that your team is actively involved in that area as well. Could you please tell me what kind of operations we're talking about? What kind of projects are in the pipeline in Kazakhstan? What kind of authorities you are collaborating right now? Of course, in Kazakhstan, we have a project that's been in development for 3 years now. It's quite a difficult bureaucratic procedure. There are several projects there. I guess the most progressed project that hasn't been mentioned anywhere, it's a project connecting like a huge market area and the residential area. And you might Google it up, find something about it. But what I can tell you is that last week, the local authorities, municipality, signed a memorandum for this project, which is basically the starting point for moving forward. And this is something that we needed to make the next step in terms of starting to raise funds and to attract investors, to attract funding. So the memorandum has been signed by the Almaty region authorities, and now the documents are making their way to Minsk to sign it on our end, and then with that signed memorandum, we will go to Kazakhstan again to take all the necessary steps to have meetings with investors, and there are a number of such investors who are interested. All they have been waiting for this formal signing of the memorandum or formal showing of interest from the local authorities, and we have it now. So this project has moved from that point, but there are other regions. It can be Astana, for example, and we had also representatives there that had several meetings with the local municipalities. Teams can change, but projects stay, and we move on. So Kazakhstan, of course, is a very promising country for us. Take Astana, Almaty, for example. Those cities are very populated, and they have a lot of traffic problems, like especially on the exit and entry of points, the commuting problem. And of course, Shymkent is a huge city, which has a lot of residential areas, and since the main transportation type is a car, so every house has a car, so in the morning they take a car, drive to downtown, and of course it all creates traffic jams, and you can't move. The rush hour is terrible there, and they are in dire need for our transportation, considering that there is a lot of private property there that you cannot simply cross. So our solution is a perfect solution for them because it is at elevated height, at elevated level. Well, thank you very much. I see a lot of participants here from Kazakhstan who are telling me that they live in the areas that you've mentioned, like Shymkent and Astana, Almaty that you mentioned, and Kastelен. And they are very glad that you've finally there. I see lots of excitement in the chat, a lot of happiness from what they heard from you. Okay, Yevgeny, in conclusion to our conversation, please tell me what kind of a summary you can make for the development of the UST group of companies, of the marketing operations. This is the first part of my question. And the second part of my question, what is, in your opinion, the future of the UST group of companies and the Unitsky's technology in the next 10 years? Well, I think everyone sees it with their own eyes. Everyone feels it now. The company is at the takeoff stage. You know, like when a plane takes off from the airfield strip. We are taking off. We are now in the air. And right now, we are ready for it. And we've been getting ready for it all this time. So basically, we have a viable means of transportation that we are 100% sure of its operationality. And we didn't have that 10 years ago. We didn't have that 5 years ago. Even 2 years ago, it wasn't there. Now we have it. It's viable. It's operating. We were at a little bit different technological level back then. Now we have it. And I already mentioned our team. I already mentioned the design team, the marketing team, the construction team. Everyone is in their place. We have no weak links in the chain left. So Dr. Unitsky put together a unique engineering school, a unique technical school, design school. And it is very important also to realize that he was able to instill a sense of responsibility into his team. Very often I work late hours, and sometimes I go outside at 8, 9 p.m. To get a breath of fresh air, and I see a lot of windows lit in our office building. A lot of people still working, still at their workstations, and they're doing it not to make more money because of the late hours, but because they're responsible. They feel responsibility. Even today, it's Saturday, Dr. Unitsky spent his days off for us. I also here, and last week, for this week, for example, I participated in a lot of meetings, although it was my vacation time. And I'm here. Yes, and he also received a lot of calls from me too. You were there. Well, because we have a fine example, a role model, Dr. Unitsky, who is full of vigor and life, who doesn't have any days off, and we're all inspired by his example. We try to follow his example. But we're already, remember, taking off. We will soon be very high in the air. And of course, we need all the support we can get from you, dear partners, participants of this meeting, who have been supporting us for the last 10 years. It is a very good source of motivation for us, for our entire team. It makes us realize that what we're doing it for the people. We're doing it to make people's life easier, to make transportation more accessible, safer. And of course, it motivates, it inspires all of our personnel. It simply puts a deep sense of gratitude. It's for the opportunity to allow our specialists to create something unique, something very important. So please keep on supporting us. And this support can take different forms. It can be a positive comment, it can be a like, or it can be some thumbs up under one of our videos or articles, because other people watching it, other people are reading it, and it can also motivate them. As for the second part of your question, what's going to happen in 10 years? Well, in 10 years, UST Inc., in my opinion, obviously will grow, and we're talking about several projects being implemented in 1 year and being put into production. And it will happen due to a number of factors, and it's inevitable too. First of all, because the technology is viable and ready. Second of all, because there isn't a more efficient and accessible technology out there in the market. Of course, we are getting different commercial projects, we're getting commercial confidential contracts from competitors too, through different channels, and we have a chance of looking into it, and we realize that we have so many advantages over our competition. were so much better. And also we can see the current traffic situation in the world. It's getting worse and worse. And it doesn't matter how strong the will and stubbornness of people who insist on using cars and in trying to reroute current traffic, they will have to switch to alternative solutions. Like Dr. Unitsky showed the example of a 3-floor building, unfinished building. Cities can be compared to an unfinished construction. A lot of cities are literally now having the problem of a leaky roof, because traffic is like a roof with a hole in it. And eventually, if nothing is done about it, the whole roof will collapse. I mean, the traffic will collapse eventually. And we need to do something about it. We need to provide a solution.
Yevgeny Olegovich, немного подвисает.
Yevgeny, you are freezing up a little bit. Okay, dear colleagues, I think we need to give Yevgeny half a minute to get back online. Just let's give it some time, give him some time. Yevgeny, can you hear me? Dear colleagues, let's give Yevgeny a couple of minutes to relog in, and then we will hear the end of his thoughts, what he wanted to say. Let's give him some more time. Dear friends, the news that we've heard today from Mr. Petrov is actually really exclusive news. We didn't know anything about the second project, possible project in Belarus. We also, I'm sure, welcomed the news from different regions of Kazakhstan, a beautiful country that I visited on numerous occasions. And please accept my best regards, dear Kazakhstani residents, and I will be immensely happy when the UST transportation projects are finally implemented in Kazakhstan. Mr. Petrov, are you with us? I can hear some sound, but I cannot see you.
Дорогие коллеги, дорогие друзья и гости, я думаю, мы тогда...
Dear colleagues, dear guests and friends, because of the bad connectivity, unfortunately, we have to let Yevgeny go. But I think we've already heard quite a lot of interesting, useful information from him. And also, he had time enough to share some of his forecasts for the UST development strategy and about possible future results, and also the solution that UST will be providing to address the current traffic problems. And those problems only showcase the advantages of the UST solutions, and it can also kind of demonstrate the prospects of our involvement in the project. So let's thank Mr. Petrov for his time, for his sharing the news with us. He will surely see those comments either today or later when he will watch the recording of this meeting, and I'm sure he will be glad to see all those words of thanks. Okay, friends, so now we've heard about the results and operations being carried out in a certain area of our planet, which is Eastern Europe, Commonwealth of Independent States, and some of the Asian regions. What about the Middle East? What about Indonesia and a number of other countries? we will hear about those regions from Mr. Zaretsky, who is the executive director of uScovery in the United Arab Emirates. And now it is with great pleasure that I'm giving the floor to Mr. Zaretsky, who is here live with us from the United Arab Emirates. And Mr. Zaretsky will clarify whether it's Dubai or Sharjah. Dubai, he's saying. Okay. Well, of course, because that's where the central office of uScovery is located, after all. So, Oleg, pleased to see you today at our today's meeting, and it is with great pleasure that I'm giving you the floor, and we would like to hear from you some kind of exclusive, intriguing information that you can afford to share with us. Well, first of all, hello everyone. I've been listening carefully to everything that Mr. Petrov said. He mentioned some leaking roof, and I totally get the metaphor. Okay, first of all, let me tell you that let me express my gratitude to all of the participants of today's meeting, and I fully realize that people are waiting for news about new projects, and I feel entirely the responsibility, and we're doing our best to start the design work and get our first commercial results. So, being the salesperson of the projects, I have a firm belief that we have achieved the stage, the milestone, where we'll be able to implement successfully our commercial projects. On Thursday, I was in Sharjah at our certification and testing center, and we took a ride on Karat U-Bus, the new model, at 100 kilometers per hour, and the maximum speed demonstrated by Karat was 120 kilometers per hour. Now it moves freely at 100 kilometers per hour. The ride was very smooth, and even it's a huge achievement of all of our engineers, and it's not a easy job to do. So going back to my line of business, promotion of commercial projects, that's also a very hard job. So here, what I wanted to tell you, everyone, guys, Maksim and everyone else, I think my word is the hardest. You know why? Because we are at a stage when we are actually developing projects. If you ask me about Dubai, I knew that what you would ask me about Dubai, and I thought hard about what to tell you about projects, different projects, but I'm really bound hands and feet by confidentiality agreements, by NDAs, so I have to really tread very, very carefully about what I can tell you and what I can't tell you, because my statement can be used kind of, against me or against the company by the competition. It can be used by the authorities against us too, by haters. Or, for example, they might be upset that I'm disclosing some confidential information, because we are at a level that we have to be very careful. Yes, Mr. Zaretsky, we realize that every single word is of a great value, which is a good indication for us who supported the technology, that we are at a very critical stage. Yes, what I can tell you is what has already been mentioned in the open media, in the public domain. For example, Indonesia. We have work ongoing. We have projects ongoing. We have several of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 projects. In Dubai, the government officially stated that they're going to build 68 kilometers of suspended tracks. And they're looking into 3 different projects. And one of the projects is being reviewed, is a 25-kilometer project in downtown Dubai, a very difficult project. But I can't really tell you that our technology was chosen. I would like to tell you, but I can't. But what I can tell you is that there is a company comparing different solutions, and one of our competitors is a Chinese company. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, and they purchased a startup back in the day, but even having all those billions of dollars, they still don't have a single commercial project implemented anywhere. And they are way more expensive than us, times more expensive than us. And their technical parameters are way poorer than ours. They can't even develop 80 kilometers per hour, but they are present in Dubai too. They are one of our competitors that we have to reckon with. And I hope in Dubai everything will be in our favor. We're working hard. We're working hard in Dubai, in Sharjah. We are working with a company that's upgrading the local airport, and they are seriously looking into connecting different terminals and parking area with the elevated transportation. Those projects are quite interesting because they do not require huge capital investments, and it will be easy to raise funds for those projects. So what I can actually tell you is Nepal. Nepal is a project in Nepal has already been announced, and I can tell you more about it. So yes, the project in Nepal has come through. Governmental officials have signed a PPP agreement, public-private partnership agreement. The government issued the right of way. It's the right to lay the track over the state land. We started developing the concept design, the design concept. We started developing the technical terms of reference. So this is the project that has been supported at the highest governmental level. In Nepal overall is a very promising region for us, because many of the decisions made at the governmental level are made in favor of string transportation. So I can tell you about Nepal without any reservations. We will build a very useful track that will connect together border areas. It's a project very much in demand, and it has a very good commercial basis too. We're talking about 150,000 people crossing the border. And even if we take 10-15% of that population, of that number of people, for our project, it will already make our project profitable. It will produce the desired commercial effect. Yes, exactly. So it's a very interesting project for us. And most importantly, we are already designing not only for the 7 kilometers track, but also planning for 14 kilometers ahead of time to make sure that we can extend the 7-kilometer track. Also, right now, in that same province, two more PPP agreements are on the table. So yeah, Nepal for us is a very promising land, and we are going to participate in the bidding procedure for the public transportation line in Kathmandu. Well, at least we're planning to, together with our representative office in Nepal. So yeah, I can disclose that kind of information. But as for India, for example, let's tread carefully here, because the government officially, I think I shared the links to the website. On the governmental website, they announced the consideration of the tender proposals for the construction of a track over the waterfall. And again, if everything goes according to the plan, we might be the one chosen for that project, and I'm really hoping to receive good news from there. taken especially into consideration that India is in dire need of transportation solutions. Literally on Friday, we received an invitation from a state-owned company. It's called some kind of a National Roads and Transportation. It's a state-owned company that researches the transportation development plans, and we received an invitation to make a presentation. So next week, I will be delivering a presentation about our transportation and methods, ways of application of this transportation. So a transportation corridor will be built there. But unfortunately, I cannot disclose specific details for several reasons. Confidentiality agreement including. Well, of course, we understand you fully and we highly appreciate your professionalism. And also I wanted to add here that this is where this is yet another confirmation that if I can't tell you more, it means that a tender has not been, the tender contract has not been awarded yet, or that the deal has not been signed yet. So that's why I cannot disclose more information until the deal is closed. Although for Taiwan, for example, we have a very interesting project in Taiwan, in Tainan area. It's a it's rest and recreation area. They're building a hotel there, a mall. It's a short line, but nevertheless, for the initial project, it's a very good example for us. And the project passed the public hearing stage. And at the public hearing stage, the project has been supported by the local community, which is a very important thing. And in Taiwan, we have nothing to hide. We can't disclose this information. Oleg, you accidentally turned off your microphone. Why does it turn off on its own accord? I don't know. Probably it has a mind of its own. So yeah, we can give you more info about Taiwan. Also, we have a project in the pipeline in Indonesia. We have several projects in the pipeline in Indonesia, but again, they are still at the negotiation presentation stage, discussion stage. We think that, of course, string transportation is in dire need of so many countries. It allows countries to unburden their heavy traffic loads and also unburden their metro transportation, the underground. And developing countries, even Indian states or African countries, cannot build overground metro transportation system. For example, in Dubai, you know it from the open sources, the Chinese company won a tender for the construction of the above-the-ground metro, and it will cost $180 million for 1 kilometer. $180 million per kilometer. That's the estimated cost in the documents. Again, and Chinese won that tender because they offered the best price. And there were like so many other participants in the bidding procedure. Can you imagine what the competitors offered? If $180 million per kilometer seems high. So our transportation can solve many similar tasks at many times cheaper price. Not just 10-15%. I'm talking about several 100% cheaper. All other things being equal. But also we offer a lot of other advantages. I'm talking about the advantages of the UST compared to other solutions. Well, for us, the main advantage right now is the cost. And by the way, many other advantages in this way or another are connected to costs. To lay a string track, you don't need to demolish things, you have to dig less, you have to relay utilities less, you have to allocate less land because we can lay tracks over agricultural land if necessary. Right now, we started working with the Canary Islands. It's a lot of interest was shown from the Canary Islands. Again, those are things that I can mention. And of course, we understand that in addition to the projects that you've mentioned, there are dozens of negotiations being held within other projects. Well, not dozens, hundreds actually. Yes, hundreds of kilometers. And what Dr. Unitsky already mentioned, and I would like to support what he said, that it's a lot of hard work that takes a lot of time. And let alone competition, we still need to understand that cities need it, and our participants, for example, are well aware that every single city, town, and even village has a urban development plan, master plan for the next 10, 15, 20 years, right? And they have budgets allocated for the implementation of those master plans. And the solution that are being implemented today, the projects that are being implemented today have been envisaged 10, 15 years back in the past. And that's when the first transportation solutions were envisioned, like railways, utility lines, overpasses, bridges. All of them were tied to the budgets allocated. Sometimes maybe military considerations were made. And when people come with innovative solutions, of course, companies offer innovative solutions. It's difficult to rework already established master plans or urban development plans. A lot of time and resources are needed for that. For example, we visited Morocco. A very interesting, promising country for us. We had a meeting with the Ministry of Transportation. Very adequate people. We showed them our technology. They showed interest. They appointed specialists to assess our solutions. But honestly, I fully realize that this interest might come to fruition in 10, 15 years or 5 years, but not right now, because they already have established urban development plans that have been developed 10, 15 years ago. So we need to account for this as well. For example, in India, they are at the planning stage and in one of these states, and they are considering our string solutions and want to incorporate into their urban development plans. But the projects that are in the pipeline right now, they number in hundreds. And some of them do not envisaged drastic changes to the already existing master plans or urban development plans. Or, for example, some of our projects might not even need big budgets, inflated budgets, or some of them will not need a lot of land allocation. For example, in Kazakhstan, in Nepal, for example, too. So those are the main advantages and also challenges for us. But again, I'm open to discussion, and what I can say, I will say. Okay, Mr. Zaretsky, one more question that is raised by some of our participants at this stage. Some of our investors in the chat are asking, do we have projects in Europe, such as Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal? Let's talk about the region, the European region. Do we have any negotiations ongoing in Europe? Do we have probably projects already that are at more advanced stage of negotiations? Well, I mentioned the Canary Islands. It is Spain. So, yeah, we have. We do. Well, of course, we had meetings. Some serious delegations visited us. We made several presentations to high-ranking delegations. We had politicians visiting our center, and all are fully aware of the attractiveness of our technology. Politics left alone, our transportation is beyond politics. We are a R&D center in Dubai, so we're not affected by any geopolitical situation. But still, I fully realized that Europe probably is going to be the most bureaucratic and red-taped continent of the world. Well, not only Europe, probably the United Eurasian region. Yeah, they have lots of regulations and rules and procedures. And I also fully realize that there is a lot of competition in Europe from the local producers that produce their own similar transportation, like Siemens, for example. So, but no matter where we go, Asia, Africa, we feel that competition, but in their home base in Europe, the competition is as fierce as it can be. And also, we are very much interested in going to Europe, of course, and implementing our projects there. We have several promising projects in Italy, in Spain, in the Canary Islands too. We're already exploring the market. We are exploring our possibilities. We are having a couple of meetings scheduled with the local officials, decision makers. We have several requests from the Czech Republic, and I guess that's it for now, off the top of my head. So not all of the things I can mention, and not all of the things I can remember. We have managers in charge of this region. But that's all I can recall right now. But I think, Mr. Zaretsky, that's more than enough. Malta, for example. We had a very good proposal for Malta. There, if we take Malta, for example, it's a transportation collapse. It's a disastrous traffic situation there. The roads are so overburdened with transportation. This transportation is literally at a still stand, at a still point there. And we need to implement our commercial projects there to unburden the roads. And unfortunately, we haven't yet received support in there. Mr. Zaretsky, I'm sure that over time, you will get more and more requests coming from Europe, from different European countries. And we have all the premises in place for that. And one of our partners has written that obstacles and difficulties make our company stronger, regardless of the red tape in different regions, regardless of the fact that the transportation sector is one of the most corrupted sectors in the world. And the competition is fierce from such companies as Siemens, for example, and other giants in the market. But we have a firm belief that UST technology will prevail eventually and will be implemented in the European continent, in the European part of our continent that we live on. So, Mr. Zaretsky, in conclusion, Maksim, can I say a few words off the record? Of course you can. Would be very glad to hear it. So, I would like, off the record, to say this. We have a lot of participants here, right, today, attendance. Yeah. I would like to address myself to all of you guys, because very often our investors, our partners write letters, write messages about the promotion of commercial projects in their countries and regions. Of course, we are very glad to receive those proposals and initiatives, but sometimes they call us and they say, we have good connections with the local Ministry of Transportation, for example, in Italy, or I have connections in the Ministry of Transportation in some other country like Cyprus. So probably we shouldn't follow that path, because now probably all the ministries in the world know about us. So this is not a very valuable contribution for us, because probably we've already made presentations to the entire world and all the ministries there. And again, the urban development plans have been already developed long ago and established, and it's very difficult to fit in those plans. But the commercial, localized commercial projects, that's what we need. We need to find a very good, medium-scale commercial project that would start generating actual commercial profits. That's the biggest challenge for us. And if our participants, clients, investors, partners have some kind of similar project in sight, that's what we would like to have, to learn about and try to implement those projects into real life. Let me explain why. Because if it's a commercial project that can generate good return on investments, then of course we can implement it, because we have a financial institution that is ready to invest into a promising project. But for that, we need to prove to them the viability of that project, like feasibility study, etc. But right now, in the world, there are not so many such projects, but they are out there anyways. So what are the requirements? It should be a medium to small project. For example, people call us and say, we have a good project connecting two cities with 20 kilometers between them. We need to connect them. But guys, 20 kilometers would cost $300–400 million. Well, considering all the infrastructural input. So what would be the ticket cost? 10 cents, for example. How many passengers you'll have like per hour or per day? 5,000. Then do the math and see when such projects will pay back. Of course, on a governmental state level, of course, those budgets are realistic and they have money for such projects. But usually those budgets are allocated for the next 10–15 years. For us, what would be really interesting is PPP projects. And for that, a project needs to be a small to medium scale, where funds could be raised from the private sector, where tickets wouldn't be too expensive, and then the passenger turnover should be big enough. For example, connecting a city to the airport, which is 3, 4, 5 kilometers. So you wouldn't get a cab to get there because it would be too expensive, and you can't go there on foot. So you connect an airport to the city, or you can connect two different terminals within the same airport. Or, for example, connecting two big trading centers or malls, so that people could, on their shopping tour, move from one center to another, one mall to another. I'm just giving you the examples from the top of my head. But this is the niche that we are interested in and that can provide good opportunities. And you can do the math in your head, like how much a ticket could cost, how many people would take rides per day or per hour. And then the the length of such track should be 3 to 5 kilometers. In Dubai, we tried to look for such projects potential projects, and we found 2-3 such areas, and there was already a huge line of potential solution providers. In Bali, similar situation. Within PPP, there have been budget-related problems, and they said, find a project within the city. And then we calculated the ticket price and the passenger turnover, realized that probably it wouldn't be feasible and the payback period would be too long. So this kind of commercial projects that would provide a short-time payback, feasible payback, are out there, and competitors know about them. They try to get in those projects, and that's where our advantages will play a crucial role. Our capital investments will be times lower than the investments from our competitors, and the payback, the return on the investments, hence, will be higher. So if our investors partners have in mind such projects, such ideas, where you can prove the viability and feasibility of such projects, those kinds of projects we would gladly welcome. I hope I delivered my thoughts in a clear way. Yeah, I fully got your message. I wanted to add here on my own part that it is very important for our investors not to show too much initiative, right? Authorized representatives should be doing the promotion, such as Mr. Zaretsky and his team and Mr. Petrov and his team. So, dear investors, let me add here to what Mr. Zaretsky said. If you have such initiatives and projects in mind, please do not try to promote and implement them yourselves. Make an official request or proposal to the UST group of companies and uScovery group of companies in the United Arab Emirates, and they will take care of it. They will handle it and know what to do with it. So this is what I wanted to convey here. Well, we weren't planning to really discuss it, but since we did, then yeah, it's very important. And I would like to thank all of our investors and you, Maksim, for everything that you are doing, guys, and for your support. And I'm sure success is inevitable. And I hope that I will be able to give you more good news. But of course, I fully realize the responsibility on my shoulders, believe me. But we fully appreciate your work. We see the results of your work and the results of your team's work. And a lot of guests and participants are writing their words of gratitude. Thank you, Oleg, for your time. We're ready for wait for another 3 years from Oleg, your namesake from Estonia. So people are full of gratitude to you, Mr. Zaretsky, and your team. We all investors in UST appreciate the contribution by every single department, yours including, and we know that you're doing your best to achieve tangible results. Again, Mr. Zaretsky, thank you for your time, for participating in this meeting, and I would like personally to wish to, on behalf of the entire investors team, results, productivity, and success. Thank you very much. Thanks. Dear guests, dear colleagues and partners, I would like now to recap, to summarize everything that's been said and heard today in the form of a news digest that hasn't been published yet officially on the UST Group of Companies websites. Today we have an exclusive opportunity to take a peek at the recent achievements and results achieved by the UST Group of Companies and the string transportation technology in general. We're going to watch now an exclusive video, and after that, I will try to summarize today's meeting, and at the end, we will present an exclusive promotion tool for all active investors in the UST, a tool that we can all use in our crowdfunding efforts that we're all engaged in. So, dear friends, please all eyes on the screen now, and after that, we will do a summary, and then we will present a unique marketing tool for our work. So, dear friends, again, all eyes on the screen, and then we'll resume.
Многообещающие проекты UST.
Promising UST projects in Europe. A commercial contract in South Asia. An important milestone in the certification of the Karat complex. We are conducting high-speed tests at 120 kilometers an hour. An agreement with a leading university in the Russian Federation and a unique project for the Chukotka Autonomous District. This is the UST Digest, where we share the most important company news. Science. UST Inc. continues to advance its scientific initiatives. The company has signed a cooperation agreement with St. Petersburg Mining University. The parties agreed to jointly promote freight transportation projects at mining and mineral processing sites. By combining their respective strengths and expertise, they aim to deliver new, effective solutions for the mining industry. St. Petersburg Mining University is one of Russia's top institutions for training mining engineers. As a technology company, we are deeply interested in collaborating with this university, not only for joint scientific research, but also to implement our innovative transportation solutions within the Russian Federation for transporting bulk materials using the Unitrans system. Applications are now closed for the International Scientific Paper Competition on the topic of string rail transportation. 40 representatives from educational institutions across various countries have confirmed their participation. This competition will allow us not only to identify transport and logistics challenges that drive scientific innovation, but also in the future to attract talented, creative young minds to the company. To clarify all technical and submission details, UST specialists held a dedicated online seminar for participants and their academic advisors. Technologies. UST flagship vehicle, the Karat U4-212 Unibus, reached a speed of 120 km per hour during testing at the uSky Testing and Certification Center in the United Arab Emirates. We are currently at the testing center in the city of Sharjah. We are testing our U-Bus 212 named Karat. The tests are being conducted at speeds of 100 km and 120 km per hour. The in-cabin experience feels excellent. As you can see, I'm not even holding onto the handrails. In the future, we plan to conduct additional tests that will allow us to expand the range of operational speeds for this vehicle. Projects. We are pleased to announce that we have received an order to build a unique UST complex at one of the recreational and wellness centers in Eastern Europe. The project will connect two buildings within the same wellness complex. The goal is to allow guests, especially during colder seasons, to move seamlessly from one building to another, even in a bathrobe and slippers, for example, while enjoying panoramic views of the complex from above along the way. Special technical specifications have already been developed and the preliminary design is complete. We're now actively working on the concept of the U-Pod. This complex will become the first monorail system in such a center and a key landmark of the region. Discussions are underway for an important project in one of Russia's most climatically challenging regions, Chukotka. The plan involves a string rail overpass connecting the two shores of the Anadyr estuary. The challenge of transporting passengers and cargo from Anadyr airport to the city itself has existed for as long as the city has. There are winter roads and marine transport options, but all of them are complicated by extreme weather conditions, strong winds and freezing temperatures. The challenge of transporting passengers and cargo from Anadyr airport to the city itself, I repeat, has existed as long as the city itself. So that's why the concept proposed by UST is for crossing the estuary is truly unique. We're talking about a single-span section approximately 2,800 meters long, capable of operating in wind speeds of up to 60 meters per second. Only string systems, it's fair to say, can solve such an engineering challenge while keeping the project within a rational, realistic budget. If implemented, the autonomous district will receive a year-round, safe and weather-independent crossing unaffected by seasonal ice conditions. This bold concept by Belarusian engineers proposes building a suspended section 2,800 meters long with a clearance above the water of more than 60 meters. Contracts. An agreement has been signed to begin the design and construction of a string rail complex in Nepal. The project client is the Nepalese company Kathmandu Podway. It has also signed an investment concession agreement with the government of Koshi province. It's worth noting that string transportation technology is now officially included in the Nepal's National Transportation Development Strategy as one of the country's most promising technologies. And this may be a bit of a political secret, both ruling and opposing parties voted in favor of including our technology in that national strategy. The documents were signed during the investment summit in the city of Biratnagar, in the presence of the country's top officials and provincial leadership. This was the UST Digest, only the most important and exciting updates. Want to know more? Visit our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media so you don't miss the next episode. Well, dear friends, colleagues, and partners, investors into the UST technology and guests of our today's meeting, we have received quite a lot of exclusive information today personally, firsthand from Dr. Unitsky, from top management of the UST group of companies, from Mr. Zaretsky and from Mr. Petrov. So what does it tell us as investors into the parent company, GTI? I would like to summarize everything we've heard so far, how it benefits us and what kind of insights we can get as the investors into the UST technology, and what kind of predictions we can make and how it will affect us as crowd investing community. I will try to summarize it in a really nutshell, because today we've broken all records in terms of the time online, live, because it is indeed something incredible, because part of the information that I wanted to tell you probably will be told by me in a separate meeting, okay, but later, more about it later. So what can we see as a given fact? First, thanks to the crowd investing process, we were able to help the engineer of the world, genius Dr. Unitsky, create and implement the string transportation technology that in a short period of time achieved such colossal results. For example, the fact that the company right now has two ready commercial products, which is cargo and passenger transportation systems. And at the moment, today, we saw that there was a huge demand from dozens of countries for the implementation of this technology and for the commercial implementation of the UST technology. Therefore, what can we derive from it? How can we benefit from it as investors into GTI? It gives us understanding that the company for a relatively long period of time, for several years now, have moved on from being an innovative company or a startup into from venture into innovative company, which now allows the company to start generating revenues net of costs, and then you get net profits that can be shared with the supporters and investors. And the company on a regular basis shows what kind of projects are in the pipeline, and some of those projects already start yielding revenues, which is very important for us as investors into the UST technology. Second of all, dear friends, Dr. Unitsky has made a very correct strategic decision of separating high-speed transportation into a separate initiative, separate project, without really damaging our interests as investors into the GTI, because we all received an opportunity to be shareholders also in the high-speed transportation as well, and which is quite fair. And we received a 5% stake for contributing only 1% of funds necessary. And Dr. Unitsky, being the owner of the technology, has decided to give a 5% stake for it, I repeat. So why is it beneficial for us as investors? Well, the benefit here is that at the current stage, the US project is the biggest commercial project for the UST group of companies, and hence the biggest potential source of revenues for the GTI, and we are co-owners of GTI. And starting this year, the first revenues will be generated, and revenues mean profits. So right now, in 2025, commercialization of the technology is going on, which is a very responsible period where we, as investors into the UST technology who came through crowd investing, we need to provide all the support we can to Dr. Unitsky's team and his group of companies by continuing active crowd investing efforts. Why is it important, dear friends? We all know that we are expecting that and hope that in 2025, the UST group of companies will show very good financial performance that we're all looking forward to. And we know that based on the financial performance of 2025, we can expect 100% of profits shared with investors. But we also need to realize one very important thing. For that to happen, the group of companies, or better, the structure, UST, will have to receive enough funding for their main operations. And their main operations include currently in maintaining and improving the already existing types of transportation, passenger and cargo transportation. How does it happen? Well, here we're talking about the operations of the R&D centers, Ecotechnopark in Belarus and the R&D center in Dubai. It is there that we saw the Karat accelerating up to 120 kilometers per hour. And this is the main indicator of the innovative activity of the company. And that activity, those operations require constant funding, constant financial injections, because innovation and R&D is not conducted for free. So where can the UST group of companies receive funding from to fund those processes, innovative operations, especially the construction of track number 6 in Ecotechnopark? We're talking about two sources of funding. The first source of funding will happen when the UST group of companies starts generating revenues, start generating net profits, in this case, the UST group of companies will be able to reinvest those profits into the development of their technology and into creating new types of upgraded types of rolling stock and into the upgrading or in improving of all the parameters such as noise reduction, smoothness of the movement, and everything related to the engineering activities. So where can the company take money from for those processes? It's either by reinvesting their profits, or if the parent company, GTI, will continue funding UST, which is owned 100% by GTI. In other words, the decision was made in order to make it profitable and comfortable for all the investments to see continued return on their investments. So the decision was made to keep selling the unsold pool of shares of GTI. We're talking about the pre-IPO shares allocated for sale to fund the UST operations, but also we need to understand that the sale of the unsold GTI shares means that the main shareholders will have fewer shares. And who is the main shareholder? Is the owner of the technology, Dr. Unitsky. He is the only one who is negatively affected by the additional sale of GTI shares. In other words, he is reducing his number of shares by selling more pre-IPO shares of GTI. And it is thanks to our crowd investing activity, those shares will be sold in the future. So we need to clearly understand here that the UST group of companies right now are generating revenues from the commercial projects, from the implementation of the commercial projects. And in order not to reinvest those revenues into innovation and to be able to share 100% of those profits with us, we still need the crowd investing we will need for a certain period of time until the company starts generating stable, high financial performance that will not require additional sale of pre-IPO shares in the parent company. I hope this is clear to everyone. Please give me some feedback in the chat if this is clear. So I see very positive feedback from you and understanding from you. Very good, very good. Then now there is another question, kind of follow-up. Not even a question, but kind of a statement of the given fact. So right now, at this very responsible, very important milestone of the string transportation technology, how can we help? How can we protect our own investments? And we can protect our investments, but not to... We can protect it by preventing lack of funding, thus ensuring continued financing of innovation. That's our goal here. Right now, the UST group of companies is almost in the market. They are right there, with one foot in the door. And we realize that the transportation sector is very corrupted and is highly competitive. And of course, there are competitors out there that try to develop their own innovative solutions in the transportation sector. And in order for the competition not to overtake us in the near future, Dr. Unitsky's team needs to improve the already existing products. And if we want to be the first in the innovative transportation market, if we want to protect our investments, we need to be active about it. We need to be active crowd investing promoters. So right now, you are all attending an RSW Systems event, and you're our clients or just investors into the UST technology, and you probably came from other platforms, other fundraising sites. So in order to provide support to Dr. Unitsky's team, in order to provide support to the GTI company that owns the entire group of companies of UST, we, as a RSW Platform Systems, are creating right now an updated crowd investing platform. Right now, we have rebranded our platform. We have created the Micron Global platform that I wanted to tell you more about today and show you all the advantages and the exclusive offers to be made on our platform. But because today we've spent twice as much time as we planned to spend, I made a decision that next Saturday, on the 28th of June, at either 5 or 6 p.m. GMT plus 3, I will have an extended meeting dedicated exclusively to all the updates that will happen on our RSW Systems platform, with gradual transition to the updated platform called Micron Global. Let me tell you right away, give you some inside information about it. We're going to have very exclusive investment offers that will be offered on our platform exclusively, Micron Global. We had a lot of questions coming from you whether our investors will be able to invest into high-speed UST hub in the United States. Let me give you my answer right away. Yes, our partners, our investors will be able to support and invest into the US hub, and this offer will be available in the Micron Global platform. And this is just one bit of exclusive information that you will learn about on next Saturday in 1 week, because this topic requires quite a lot of time, and if I try and cover this topic today in this limited time left, I guess, guys, you're already oversaturated with information, and it's been already almost, 3 hours and 4 hours, right? So I will announce, I'm announcing an event in exactly 1 week that will be fully dedicated to the transition from the old RSW Systems platform to the Micron Global platform. I will tell you about all the procedures that we need to go through before we are able to take advantage of the new platform, what needs to be done by each one of you in your own back offices. There will be an interesting piece of news for all UST investors, for partners who haven't yet finished paying their installments plan. You guys will have an exclusive offer too, so that it would be a good incentive for you to pay off your installment plans ahead of time, early. So you will be given an opportunity to jump into the last car of the train, of the leaving train. All of it will be covered in our next event on the 28th of June. I will clarify, I will specify the exact time. We will try to make it convenient for all our community, for all our countries, and this event will be held in all the current languages: the Vietnamese language, Hindi, English, Spanish, French, Italian. Did I mention English already? Yes, I did. Hindi. So we have 7 languages today. We will have those exact 7 languages next Saturday. Again, guys, the number of spots will be limited. We will have 1,000 spots only, so please do not delay, and you are kindly invited to that event too. Also, let me remind you that it is the 21st of June and only, 8 or 9 days are left until the end of the month, where you can still use a unique opportunity to use the last promotion that we have on RSW system, the discount 76 with a potential of becoming 85. I repeat, there will be no such discounts anymore on our platform. And right now, you are having this unique exclusive opportunity when the UST group of companies is showing very active development. This is indeed your last chance, last call to jump into the last car of a living train. So let me assure you that the investment opportunity offered right now will not be repeated again. This is literally the last chance to invest into the technology at a very high discount, to get a big bunch of pre-IPO shares at this current stage. And what kind of stage are we talking about here, dear friends? In literally 1 year, we're going to get the first possible payout on our investments. What does it mean for all of us? For example, if right now you have a kind of a desired number of pre-IPO shares that you would like to have, and you haven't yet reached that number, you can take use of this opportunity and buy more shares to get to that desired portfolio. Also, it is your opportunity to invite other people who are still on the fence, who still haven't yet made up their minds, and tell them about all the advantages and benefits. You can work with your contact list and tell them that there are almost no risks left related to the investment into UST, literally reduced to zero. Why? Because the company already has ready commercial products that are being sold right now. The company has already implemented the first commercial project that is already selling tickets, and very soon civil works, construction will start in different regions, projects and contracts will be signed, and the year 2025 promises very good financial performance with payouts made in 2026. So investors coming in 2025 can already potentially start receiving their payouts if financial performance is achieved by UST. So investors who made their investment in 2025 can already claim return on their investments in 2026, friends. So right now, I think we should be proud of what we are part of, and we should proudly offer this investment opportunity to other people who are not yet investors in our technology. So friends, please take advantage of this opportunity. You have only 9 days left, and this is the time when we should be proactive, when we should put some marketing promotion efforts in, crowd investing efforts. What else I wanted to add to the summary of this meeting? This is what I wanted to say, which is related to our holding company that we all co-own, GTI. In the near future, at the end of the Q2 this year, in July, on the official website of GTI, a number of official legal documents will be published. We're talking about an updated investment memorandum that will follow the logic and the course that I've just mentioned regarding how the GTI holding company is going to make their first payouts and based on what. So the investment memorandum of 2024 will be replaced with the investment memorandum of 2025. Also, official information will be published on the Global Transport Investment website about the high-speed transportation, so that our investors would have all their questions answered, including legal questions. A lot of other additional information will be published on the GTI website regarding the restructuring of the 15th stage, because it does require elaborate explanation and correct understanding and correct interpretation why the 15th stage will be reorganized, restructured, and how the money is going to be spent, and how it will benefit the current existing commercial products, passenger and cargo transportation. And all of that information will be published on the GTI website. And after this information is published on the website, the official representative of GTI will speak before the entire community of investors and will provide answers to all the questions. But I think after those documents are published, there will be very few questions left. But nevertheless, the official representative of GTI will clear all the doubts and answer all the questions to make sure that all the changes are made for the benefit of us, investors. All the changes that have happened or are happening, again, I repeat, are for our own sake, investors' benefit and sake. Even Dr. Unitsky, who is the main owner and investor into this an investor in the UST technology, he's ready to share most of his profits with us, with the investors who believed in him. And this is, dear friends, should only inspire us at this stage. Let me emphasize again, right now, dear friends, it is a breaking point, in the positive meaning of the word. It's when the company is on the verge of going big in the international market, and we need to provide our best support. This is why we are rebranding our platform. This is why we are giving all the necessary tools for that. We're updating our marketing compensation plan, the affiliate program plan that will motivate you better towards building your long-standing careers, marketing careers. Because the cause that we're all part of and supporting can be pursued our entire lives. Because Dr. Unitsky has a lot of other technologies in his portfolio that are quite profitable, that are commercially lucrative. And it is with full assurance and responsibility that I'm saying that the Micron Global platform in the next dozens of years, 20, 30 years into the future, will be purely supporting Dr. Unitsky's inventions and projects. So, dear friends, it is very important for us to be there next Saturday at our next event and hear about all those innovations, all those novelties that will be announced on the 28th of June. So, friends, what else I wanted to say in conclusion of my speech? At today's meeting, we're going to show you a unique tool that will be also exclusively presented on our Micron Global platform. You already saw that tool in the first video where Dr. Unitsky and his team was using at a land plot where UST hub is to be built. And you already saw a rolling stock on the land plot in virtual reality. It's called augmented reality. And this tool is called Admix Reality application that allows you to show in literally 5 minutes what UST technology is all about. Its intended purpose is to facilitate our crowd investing efforts. So let me repeat, this tool will be an exclusive opportunity offer only on our platform. This tool was developed jointly with UST group of companies, and the author of this tool is Dmytro Sliusar, who is also an investor in UST and has been since 2014, and he is the author behind the idea of using augmented reality to promote string transportation. But before I give the floor to Dmytro Sliusar, and he presents his product and shows the advantages of it and why it was created, we're going to watch together the presentational video. Then Dmitry will address you, and then I will take the floor for the conclusion. And now all eyes on the screen, please.
Как показать
How
масштабность?
to convey the scale of UST technology when it's so hard to imagine for the average person. How to build trust, not with words, brochures, slides, or even polished videos, but in a way that makes someone simply look and say, "Wow, now I see what you mean. You have my attention." That has been my dream for years, and I know it's yours too. When you try to explain the idea of string transportation and all you get back are doubts, questions, confusion, or even rejection, it's easy to feel discouraged. You say all the right things, you cover all the bases, but somehow it just doesn't land. We've been through that for years, and the more we faced those reactions, the more we searched for something that truly works, something we could rely on, and finally we created it. A tool that quite literally brings UST technology to life, right here, right now, in your smartphone. No slides, no guesswork, no lengthy explanations. The person just sees it. Not an idea, not a fantasy. They see reality. And they believe. And in that moment, the whole conversation shifts. Doubts turn to curiosity. A listener becomes a partner. This isn't just another presentation gimmick. This is a proven, powerful tool that changes the rules of the game. We've tested it for years. In business, at trade shows, in creative work, in conversations with people from all backgrounds, even where language was a barrier. And trust us, it's worth your attention. You will feel how it works in practice. You'll watch communication barriers disappear, and you'll see how hard it will be to go back to the old ways. This is an experience you won't forget, and a tool that works from the very first seconds. Remember, while others spend hours spelling it out, UST technology is coming to life right in your hands, right here, right now. So friends, after such an awesome presentation with this video and with this tool, I would like to give the floor to my close friend, to my dear friend with whom we've been going shoulder to shoulder along this path towards implementing UST using augmented reality. And Dmitry has been an investor in UST since 2014. He's the author and the developer of this application, of this tool. So, Dmitry, you have the floor. We're waiting for you.
Всем добрый вечер. Я очень рад приветствовать.
Hello, everyone. It is a great honor for me to be here, to welcome you all here, and see those who have the biggest energy and persistence. And today we've received quite a lot of important information, quite a lot of exclusive information that we've been waiting for so long. Thank you very much, Maksim, for introducing me. So instead of me, it will be very hard for me to keep up the vibe, keep up the energy, after you. But I kind of got hold of myself and trying to do my best. So thank you very much for your introduction, by the way. You know what? have lots of things to tell you, and I don't want to make this meeting, to make my part of the speech too long, because a lot of words have already been said, and you saw a lot of things in the video that I prepared for you and was shown to you by Maksim. You know, still, I have things to say, because not everyone understands what we're talking about here. What is this application? When we talk about great ideas, we very often forget that every idea started from a small step. A drawing on a piece of paper, first shot made, sometimes from some internal image that was born in our minds. Someone envisioned something that nobody has envisioned before. And as we heard and saw from our distinguished speakers before us, UST technology is a viable technology. It's not a concept, it's not an experiment anymore, it's a given fact. And we all helped in our way to bring it from blueprints into reality. First, it was an idea born in Dr. Unitsky's head, then it was blueprints, then it was prototypes, and then it became commercial. And now we see the result. But we also heard another important detail today that all of the speakers mentioned. Today is the time for the next stage. It is time our technology was brought to where it is needed, to as many countries of our planet as possible, where it can drastically change people's lives for the better, where it will become a solution to the current challenges. And it is on us that a lot of depends on how fast it will become reality, as it was back in 2014. And it is here, and I'm not afraid of saying it out loud, it is here that Admix Reality will play a crucial role. It's a business tool that can easily turn imagination into a clear-cut vision or clear-cut way of delivering this vision to the person you are talking to a prospect. We can show it somewhere in a familiar environment, something that is not there, but they can see it on your phone. We are planting the seed of new images, new emotions into their minds. We are triggering their imagination, their perception of something new, something unfamiliar, and turning it into a sea of possibilities. You might have been walking across some familiar empty field, and probably tomorrow you will show them how that empty field can host new supports for the rails, for the tracks, for new transportation, new infrastructure logic of how villages, towns and cities can be developed. Just feel that significance of this historical moment. Imagine they will not see the future, they will see a possible reality that today can take shape already. And I'm sure many of you have already experienced it. Probably, but you experienced it by witnessing the physical facility in Marina Gorka, Belarus, or in Sharjah, in the United Arab Emirates. But now you can show them how it will look like in their familiar environment, on their familiar grounds, in their street, in their yards. And people usually... For people, it is hard to perceive something that is overseas, somewhere in Sharjah, somewhere else, somewhere overseas, where thousands of miles away from them. And of course, even that is a huge step forward compared to 2014, when we showed them blueprints, ideas, and drawings only. But when people are able to see UST technologies through their phones in their familiar streets, it changes the entire game. It's a game changer. And we are here today not only co-owners of the technology, we are also co-authors of changes, or co-drivers of changes. And thanks to the Admix Reality app, we now have the opportunity to become the first pioneer pathfinder in your town, in your city, in your country, in your location, to use this tool to promote Dr. Unitsky's ideas, to make them visible, to make them convincing. You don't have to wait until someone makes this decision for you or instead of you. We can learn how to use that app ourselves today and tell them, look, UST is possible in here. UST is needed in here, in this location, in that location. And when you start using that tool, you will see how barriers are lifted. But people who used that tool, it's coming from a personal experience. They say all doubts are literally instantly cleared away. When they show it in group presentations or individual presentations, when people see UST technology through their phone, literally in their yard, in their streets, here and now, they start adding their 2 pence. Like, why not putting it instead of this, in this place, into that other place, across the street? And they start getting involved. Their imagination kicks in. And this is the logistical, logic conclusion to your presentation. That's what's going to be. Admix Reality is the key to making your initiative more weighty, to gain weight, to make sure that every presentation of yours becomes significant, and every step you make, professional step you make, become a part of the global UST process in your continent, in your country, in your city and settlement. Recently, we've launched a focus group of testers so that every participant could experience using that app with their own phones. And dear participants who are part of that focus group, please share your feedback in the chat. And there, Maksim and I and our other users who have been using this app for quite some time now are sharing actual real-life experience. We're sharing business cases. We're sharing creative ideas, approaches, content, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, success stories, failure stories, everything. And most importantly, we are learning how to build our business using this tool and how to tap into our creative potential. You know what? What I'm getting inspired by? Every single shot is like an informational seed planted into the minds of people. And where it grows, it activates the thought process, telling people it's possible. And then from it's possible, they start thinking and saying it's needful, it's needed. And eventually from needed, it goes to inevitable. It's inevitable. And Admix Reality is not just a tool for inspiration, imagination, or crowd investing business, although for many people it has already become a lifestyle. But as it has been emphasized, it's also to protect our previous efforts, the results that we have achieved so far, and to protect, safeguard our future efforts as well. In other words, to protect our investments. Because yes, we all want to see the technology developed and implemented, the technology that we believed in when we didn't have an actual nothing. It was only on paper, and we all want this technology to grow roots in all the continents of the world and connect all different points of the globe into one network. And please hear me out. It is today the more Admix Reality is used in creating visual content using our UST technology, for our UST technology. The more presentation and business meetings are held using this tool, the stronger and more solid the UST technology will become in people's minds. And our tool is capable of that. And we need to do that in a correct professional way. And for many years we saw people's reactions to something that is happening here and now, how their attitude changes, how their doubts are cleared away. It's not only the world of possibilities, it is the world of realities. When Dr. Unitsky first saw it, he said, "It also moving?" That was his first reaction when he saw how the app works back in 2018. It was not a static picture, it was a dynamic picture. And we need to learn how to professionally use it. We know how to use the Admix Reality in the most efficient way, how to create content, how to position yourselves when you speak to your prospects, and to realize what kind of business opportunities the platform is offering. And currently it's RSW Systems, and in the very near future it will become Micron Global platform with immense marketing opportunities. We know how to turn visualization into effective communication. We know how to turn it into an entry point for potential investors, and how to turn it into your lifestyle. And you won't be able to go back using old methods. And the only question you will have is, why haven't you come earlier? But you know that future cannot be born on its own. The future is the result of the efforts of people who are not waiting for the right moment. They're creating the right moment. And today we have this kind of people here. And it is today that this moment is here. Not tomorrow, not the day after, it is today, here. And by using Admix Reality, you can change how your environment will look like in the future. Transportation network. Your actions can raise interest from someone important, probably a transportation decision maker in your area. And in conclusion, I wanted to tell you that Admix Reality is not about trends. It's about people who are not afraid to be pioneers. And we're not just sharing this tool, we are offering new ways of thinking, of seeing things, and changing the rules of the game. And Admix Reality is actually the driver of changes. And I'm not talking about doing things as other people are doing. No, I'm talking about thinking in a different way and use Admix Reality in an interactive, gamified way, so that it's comfortable for you to do that business and to promote UST technology and maximize your business efforts. It's easy, I repeat, and it's all gamified. And today, this is what will yield the desired result. It can be UST related or any other business related. And this is a huge breakthrough. And this is your go-to friend. So basically, it will be us who will be setting the course. And we've already set the course. And I will be very glad if you join our group, our community. Future waits for no man. Future bends to the will of people who are willing to change it. So thank you very much for giving time and your attention to me, and I will be waiting for you
Следите за нашими новостями.
and for your applications to our future focus groups. So see you later. Maxim, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Dmitry. I've almost lost my voice by the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, Dmitry, for your motivation and for generating, for creating this genius idea, this tool that is going to be very useful for the promotion and popularization of the string transportation, and also facilitates our crowd investing efforts, because this tool is truly unique. Just imagine, friends, when hundreds of thousands of users across the entire world start sharing videos in their social media, how string transportation technology can be used in their towns and cities, addressing logistics problem, addressing traffic problems in their locations. What kind of an effect it's going to produce is going to go viral, and it will help popularize, promote Dr. Unitsky's technology, and it will help boost his reputation as the innovator of the 21st century. So indeed, it's a unique product. So Dmitry, you have our sincerest thanks for creating it and for not giving up. And as you said, this is the high time to start using it, this instrument, at a large scale, especially right now when the investment proposals have never been, when explanation of the investment proposal has never been as easy as today, and this tool will make our work even easier. Let me read a couple of comments in the chat about what kind of results people achieved by using this tool. So thank you, Dmitry, for your tool. It will help us promote this project faster. Admix Reality is indeed real world. It's a super tool. It boosted my sales and it made the whole process more interested. I saw a couple of comments in English. This is the best tool I saw so far in my businesses. Without saying a word, you can promote your UST business. It was written by Saeed. I think he's from the United States, if I'm not mistaken. Now, what else we have? Olga has written, super, a very wise decision. First, the partner sees the augmented reality, and then they go to Marina Gorka to see the actual technology in operation. And then someone says, your delivery is so cool. Okay, dear friends, our meeting has come to an end, and I would like to sincerely thank every single participant who was strong enough to withstand this marathon, and I hope you don't think you've wasted your time here. We've heard exclusive information from Dr. Unitsky, from top management of the group of companies of USTs. We summarized the achievements and the results of the group of companies so far, which is quite impressive and makes us wonder. And we have things to be proud of, because all of us made truly correct decision to support this unique project of the 21st century, the technology that can truly change the world for the better, thanks to the engineer of the world, Dr. Unitsky. Friends, again, thank you very much. I would like to again thank every single one of you. I would like to virtually shake everyone's hands. You guys have a lot of patience, and the information that we're going to provide next Saturday is going to be exclusive, I repeat, and it will make your heart beat faster. because the tools and the changes that we've prepared for you on the updated platform are aimed to make your work, your life easier, and your crowd investing efforts easier, and for us to be a regular and continued support to Dr. Unitsky, his entire engineering team that is behind the development and implementation of the innovative technology of string transportation. Dear friends, we should also bear some responsibility for the successful implementation of this technology. And crowd investing currently is the most important investment vehicle, and we all should feel that responsibility. And this responsibility should take the form of active involvement in the crowd investing process. Dear friends, see you next Saturday, and I would like to invite all of the investors into the UST to that event, regardless what platform you're working with right now. This information will be useful to everyone. Thank you very much again to all of our guests, speakers, and participants of this event. Have a nice rest of the evening, Saturday evening, and have a nice day off tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.